Looks like we're back in the studio. Los Angeles, 1997.
That's a good analogy.
Brett Gurewitz behind the controls. This is Brett.
I don't need to tell the truth, but I never lie. I don't need to bow to you. You're just passing by. I never wanted to be the one you bitch and moan and come home to. But as long as you look good, I'll come back to you. Get inside my troubled mind with all of your threats. Sometimes I think I was blind. Not before we met. I never wanted to be the one that you depend on for your life. When you cry, it smells like soup. Sounds like Shonen knife. Never think about what I said all night. I gotta ride. Each time I said all night. No, I just might. You make me stay all night. It's just that side of you tonight that makes me stay all night. I'm gonna stay all night. You're an evil Ipso girl. I'm a twisted man, tearing through your perfect world. Make you understand. I never wanted to be the one you bitch and moan and come home to. But as long as you look good, I'll come back to you and do the things you do. Stay all night. I gotta ride. Each time I stay all night. No, I just might. You make me stay all night. It's just that side of you tonight that makes me stay all night. I'm gonna stay all. I would never treat you bad. You deserve the best from me. If you want to keep your place, you better get down on yours.
Yeah, Todd wrote this one.
Yeah. You think?
This is not mine.
Stand all night, I gotta ride. Each time I stand all night, no, I just might. You make me stand all night. It's just that side of you tonight that makes me stand all night. I'm gonna stand all night.
Text
R.I.P.
Robin.
Todd.
Questions, comments, wagers, give us a reason. Sleeper fantasy play, your best alternative line, whatever you have. Text the round robin 757-354-5517.
Can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose cross nights and bright stars through the perilous fight, o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, take us that star-spangled banner yet wave, for the land of the free and the home of the brave.
This is the Deep End Broadcasting Network.
You are tuned in to the Round Robin with Stephen Murray on Deep End Broadcasting.
Any time I'll do
Here we are, the divisional round of the NFL playoffs. This is the round robin. I am Stephen Murray. We are here to invest the minimum for the maximum reward. Here, broadcasting live from the beautiful shoreline of Virginia Beach, Virginia, the United States of America. It is 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Our special edition playoff. 4 games to go over. We only have 7 left to break down. Maybe we'll get it right. Playoffs are the bread and butter. Fun games last week. Interesting matchups this week. Dave Grande, he from Field Level Media. He will be with us next segment. So right about 11:20ish, here in about 15 minutes or so. Dave Grande from San Francisco, California, right where the 49ers are hosting the Cowboys in the last of the 4 games, Sunday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Kickoff at 3:30 Pacific. So a lot to break down. Nephew Dave will be in here after Del Grande, the Ant-Man back in the house again. So he's on a good roll here. And we're going to see what we can find. A lot to go over. I think the first thing to note for these games is that the line for the Chiefs game, our first game, has been jacked up 1 full point overnight. So the Chiefs, who were 8.5-point favorites yesterday, now sit at a 9.5-point favorite against the Jacksonville Jaguars. None of the other lines have moved. Eagles 7.5, 48.5, the total there. That's a night game. What a rabid crowd there in Philly. How about that? The Philly fans are going to have all day to drink and party and throw down. And do they have a hockey game? Sometimes when they have these playoff games, they'll have a hockey game beforehand or even an NBA game, and the fans will really take it up a couple of notches. Some of those stories are famous. Let's take a quick look at that just to see on the Saturday slate. Do we see the Flyers at home anywhere? Now, the Flyers are off today. I don't think the 76ers were on the West Coast, so I doubt that they have a home game, but we'll just go ahead and see if they're on the list. They're going to play tonight, so they'll be at Sacramento after about fourth quarter of the Eagles game. That will start up. All right, so the Philly fans don't have multiple sporting events, at least today, to do the double tailgate scenario, but rest be assured. 11:10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, about 8 hours until kickoff. I guarantee you the party is going down in Philadelphia for that one as we speak. Same thing, the Chiefs fans tailgate hard, so they're going to be at it today, 4:30. We're looking at rain and snow potentially developing in the Chiefs-Jaguars game. All that is supposed to start right around kickoff. We have good weather in Philadelphia. The Eagles and the Giants will play in clear conditions, no wind, upper 30s will likely be the temperature, maybe even a little warmer than that. It looks like the Bills and the Bengals are going to avoid disaster as far as the weather goes. It looks like whatever precipitation for the Bills and the Bengals game will roll in later in the day. They actually might get it in the second half. All right, so that's a 3 p.m. kickoff. And when I was looking at the weather forecasts, let me just go ahead and double check that. I want to make sure I got my timeline right. I think I had in my head that game was going to start at 1, knowing that the whole time that game is a 4 o'clock kickoff. So, yeah, precipitation, or 3 o'clock kickoff. Precipitation will start right after 4 o'clock and get heavier as it'll get colder and snowier, rain to snow as that game develops. Now, the temperature is right there at 34, 32 degrees, floating right in there. So that's going to be all the difference in the world. Might get some of that lake effect, though, if they get that cold air coming off some of the moisture off the lake. So we might see some of that, too. We'll see how that goes. That could be a fun game. Either way, good conditions or in the snow. Not looking at a lot of wind. I think that's going to be the key factor for some of these games as far as being entertaining, not getting sloppy or, the ball's not movable. I could see how, you get 4 good playoff games and, 30-mile-per-hour winds would just kind of make that not fun, to be honest. At this point of the season, when you have the final 8 teams, you want them to decide it legitimately. And that would be, weather conditions that I don't think dictate one way or the other that's going to favor someone. And I don't think that's going to be the case really. For the most part, the one team I'm going to have concerns with, I think it's Jacksonville, to be honest. Is Trevor Lawrence going to be used to that cold? He's kind of a homeboy of here of the East Coast, Southeast. Trevor Lawrence to the Midwest. Maybe that is going to be something. Mahomes is going to be used to that kind of thing. I don't think it's going to slow him up, but we're not looking at any kind of crazy wind in Kansas City to bog down the quarterbacks. Looks like the wind today is going to be, at the max 3-4 miles per hour. But it is, without a doubt, the precipitation chances go up tremendously as this game goes. Right around 3 o'clock, we're looking at like a 65% chance of rain and then developing into snow. All right, so looks like that's going to be basically the same story for Buffalo, Cincinnati, and Jacksonville and Kansas City. You'll get some kind of weather, and in Buffalo, that's going to happen more towards the second half. San Francisco, nice clear weather there. That's going to be the worst game. Upper 40s, mid 40s, and no wind there. Let me just double check the wind on that. We want to make sure we definitely have this all hammered down, but I'm pretty sure it looks nice. And Bill Grande will confirm that here when we get him on here in a few minutes. But just for my own knowledge going forward, I want to pull this up one more time here. It looks like tomorrow, as far as the wind goes, you might get a little bit of wind, 13 miles per hour. Holding steady, 13 to 14 to 15 miles per hour for kickoff there into the evening hours. And temperatures look like they're going to be in the low 50s, actually. So a little bit warmer for a game there with the Cowboys and the 49ers. You know what? I'm not sure which way I'm going to go on a lot of these games yet. I'm somewhat undecided. Traditionally, and there are a lot of high over-unders this week. All these over-unders, if you look at the ticker below, we got them all listed down there. I think the lowest one is 46.5 with Dallas and San Francisco. All the other ones are higher, upper in the 40s or in the lower 50s for these totals. Is that an overreaction to last week? I'll tell you what, if you've been paying attention to the show and, we tell you to bet what you like, if you went on a little alternate over streak last week, because you know how we like to move the lines like crazy people. If you moved the lines to the overs last week, you made a fortune. So listening to this show and betting overs and moving the lines last week, if that's what you wanted to see, you made a lot of money. You actually really did a good job. So anyone who did that out there, good job, good efforts by you. I'm kind of kicking myself. I wasn't all over that. We had a lot of really good picks last week. At least I thought I did. Go back and listen to what we liked on the show. But I, called the Cowboys. Minnesota, I think, was my worst pick. San Diego, I liked them for sure, and they blew it. So that was my other bad one. And I think everything else kind of held to form, to be honest. Dave Del Grande, I think he was all over it with his totals and everything that he saw. So he has a good feel for what's going on right now, and we'll get him on. Let's go ahead and take that break. We'll go ahead and cue up the Pie Tasters here. We'll go ahead and hit a commercial. The Pie Tasters on tour right now. They got a good little spring tour going. So if you are in our neighborhood of Virginia, Northern Virginia, or down in the Blacksburg, Radford area, where I used to go to school and reside, the Pie Tasters on tour in April. Other shows as well. So check out the Pie Tasters on tour. Go look at our interview too. You want to get the Pie Taster interview? Dig deep on the Deep in the Bowl Solutions 757 Facebook page. All right. I'm Stephen Murray. This is the Round Robin. A lot to break down with the crew. Coming up, Dave Del Grande from San Francisco. All right, 4 games to break down, and no one to do it better with. I feel like Dave Grande's on a little bit of a roll. I think he's been pegging a few things here that we've been talking about with him. So he joins us from San Francisco, California, right in the heart of where the 49ers, well, that's in Santa Clara, but the Cowboys playing the 49ers tomorrow in the last game. Dave, how's it going, man? The weather's a little bit better out there this week, right?
Chamber of Commerce weekend this weekend. I'm kicking myself because a couple different times when I tried to get fancy and think that the weather was going to be a factor in a 49ers game, that Tampa Bay game about a month ago where they thought the weather was going to be real bad, and it turned out wasn't a factor at all. And then, of course, this last game where the weather was at times bad, but, still no factor at all in that game. So let's not worry about that anymore.
Actually, there's one question I had in my mind all week, and I kind of forgot about it as I was writing. And I never write questions down. Everything kind of comes from the heart. But the 49ers, they have flipped from the defensive team to the offensive team more so than any other team, I think, this season. Somewhat impressive, the offense, the numbers they've been putting up, right?
Well, that's what they're supposed to be. I mean, Kyle Shanahan is an offensive, quote unquote genius, and he's been, for years and years, people have talked about, when this guy gets his own team and when he gets to get his own personnel in there. And they have that now. I mean, the addition of McCaffrey gives them obviously a running back threat that they haven't had, before in his regime. They've had the nice wideout. They've had obviously a great tight end. And then the quarterback situation, people for years have said, which is, Jimmy Garoppolo's holding this team back. And obviously Kyle agreed because they went out and they drafted Trey Lance, who was going to change this offense dramatically. And then lo and behold, didn't realize that they did draft their quarterback of the future. Probably it just wasn't in the first round; it was in the last round. And so now he's got his quarterback in there, who's the style of quarterback that he had in Garoppolo, but it seems to be anyway. And granted, this guy hasn't played all that much, but seems to be a notch better, or notch or two better than he ever had with Garoppolo. So yeah, it's like I said, it's not surprising that it's come to this point, because this is what it was supposed to come to.
Yeah, and I got to set the record straight. I'm not sure if it was you I was talking with, or someone else. I asked someone if Hawkinson would be perhaps the best trade in the NFL. Yeah, he's been a good player for the Vikings and their limited capabilities of advancing. But it's McCaffrey. That is definitely the best trade, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, not only because they got an elite level running back they hadn't had, but the 49ers in recent years, if you look at, if we just look at their stats from, like, say, the last 4 years, I doubt any team has used more running backs. It just seems that they use a guy for 2 games, he gets hurt. Then they got their next guy for 3 games, he gets hurt. And then, the starter comes back, now he gets hurt again. I mean, kind of the Raheem Mostert era where he couldn't stay healthy. I mean, they were, they drafted guys, high up. The Ohio State guy they drafted a couple of years ago, they thought was going to be a great running back for them. Turns out he didn't turn out very good. And a guy they drafted later in the draft, Mitchell, turns out to be a better back. Yeah, so it's, he's finally that revolving door of, I'm going to guess, at least 15 different running backs in the last 4 years. Has stopped spinning, and he's got a guy he can count on. And now the guys who are supposed to be backups, like Mitchell, are backups. So not only do you have an elite running back, but you've got quality depth as well. So no doubt that this was the season-changing trade that a lot of teams dream of making, and the 49ers were able to make it.
Okay, I think for the most part, just my opinions of the games last week, it seemed like pretty much every team showed their true colors. I mean, they were basically mirrored themselves of what they did in the regular season. There were no surprises, no team kind of coming out of nowhere here to maybe make a run. There might be one or two guys. Maybe the Giants qualify like that, I guess. But which unit overall, offense, defense, special teams, of which unit of all the teams left looks the best, and which one looks the most vulnerable?
I mean, including the teams that haven't played yet?
Yeah, the teams remaining this week. Yeah, all the teams remaining now. Yeah.
Well, I agree with what you said there about last week's games. And we did talk about this some last week. I think there are 5 elite teams in the NFL that are significantly better than everybody else. Dallas is attempting to creep into that group as number 6, although I'm not convinced. The 5 teams are Philadelphia, San Francisco in the NFC, and Kansas City, Cincinnati, and Buffalo in the AFC. Yep. Again, we mentioned last week that there were a couple of games on the schedule last week, that Chargers game against the Jaguars and the Vikings game against the Giants. Those were no better than regular season games. Entertaining, yes, but those games weren't played like playoff games. Those were not playoff caliber teams. And we've weeded all of those teams out. We're now down to the big boys, the heavyweights, and unfortunately, we got 4 games and 5 heavyweights. That leaves 3 blowouts this week and 1 game that should be really competitive among the 2 heavyweights between Buffalo and Cincinnati. And so I really believe that the cream is going to, as it did last week, the cream is going to rise to the top significantly this week. In terms of the best units that are left, well, I still think Philadelphia and Kansas City, as they are seeded, are the top 2 teams. And it's hard to distinguish for me between which one has the better offense. I mean, Kansas City is more scary because they've done it for longer, and Mahomes is more of a magician. But if you watch the Eagles play this year when Hurts was in the lineup, that I look at stuff from a fantasy angle a lot, but that's where fantasy titles were won. I mean, there was no stopping Hurts and Brown, and then Smith, comes on as the former Heisman Trophy winner, has a big season as a number 2 receiver. They get a running game going. They've got a great offensive line. I would give them the edge over Kansas City in terms of being the number 1 offense that's left. The number 1 defense that's left, I think, is a little tougher. I'd have to go with San Francisco because they're strong at every level. They get a nice pass rush. They have an elite level of linebackers, and they're in the defensive backfield. I've felt this for a long time in the NFL and in probably college football, the same thing. When you have a really good, an all-pro type cornerback, it changes everything because you can kind of leave him on an island and use and take away one of the big weapons from the other team, and use the other 10 guys, to suffocate the other team's 10 guys. And you don't have to worry about double teaming the star receiver because you've got, an equal across from him. And I think the 49ers have that in Ward. He gets picked on a little bit, but it's, often that's not wise. And kind of like you used to see a lot when a team had Lester Hayes or Deion Sanders, and one of these real elite cornerbacks. they don't get the interceptions because the ball's not thrown in their area because their guys never open. So it's these lesser guys who end up, like this Gibson guy on the 49ers who seems to have 7 interceptions in the last 2 games. They keep throwing the ball to him.
Right.
It's like, why do they keep throwing it to him? Well, because they're not throwing it to the guy they want to because Ward's guarding him. So they throw to the other side where it's more crowded and they get a nice pass rush and, they're throwing punts to the guy. So I would rate them, the 49ers, as the top defensive team.
Okay. Expedited replay. I feel like that was kind of snuck in on us by the NFL when they said, the couple of instances last week, they're like, we've already reviewed the play. We're going to change it to this. And maybe we've seen that a couple times here at the end of the regular season. Did any of that catch you off guard?
No, because it's been obvious that this has been happening all season. I'm surprised more hasn't been made out of it.
Right, okay.
That you've seen this happening. I mean, and it's become an epidemic. It's gotten to the point where it's almost like the referees are told, look, just guess because,
right.
we need to make a call.
Right.
And that'll give us an excuse to huddle up. We'll walk slowly together. This will buy us 15, 20 seconds. And meanwhile, the guys upstairs or wherever they are will be looking at the play. They'll see, oh, no, that wasn't a fumble. That guy's down. And then when we're huddling up, we can pretend like, well, this other guy, had a better angle. And he says it wasn't a fumble, so we're going to go with no fumble. But in fact, these guys on the field have no clue. They're being told from up on top, that's no fumble. You need to change it. Put your act on. And these guys who get on the microphone, heck, they got a job in Hollywood when they're through because they they make it sound like they're making every one of these calls when in fact more and more every week they're making fewer and fewer calls. That's why I'm shocked. I go back to the man, I'm going to even forget which game this was, but the game where they gave the first down when the guy didn't make it. And clearly he didn't make it. And
right, yeah, I do remember that. I can't remember which
game. You can't remember. I can't remember which game. It was. Well, they're probably going to make it on the next play anyway. But that was going to be a 4th down. And
was it Miami? It might have been the Miami.
I want to say Miami was involved. Yes, because it was. That gets me on another pet peeve. But I'll save that for later if we have time. But it's good for the game. It's oh yeah, that's right. It was the Miami game because the Miami game went like 5 hours because it seemed that they had about 30 of these conferences, one after almost every other play toward the end of the game, and that's unfortunately that just means that there were a lot of tough calls. These guys got a really tough job, and unfortunately they're being scrutinized live, by national audiences who are being shown, 2 or 3 different replays before the ball snapped again. And by the time the ball snapped again, you realize, oh man, that was a bad call. In the old days, they didn't have the means of changing that, but now they do. And so they're using it, and especially as the games get more important. And I like it. If the goal is to get the call right, then use whatever resources you have. And I think in the end, these calls are getting, for the most part, like I said, I don't think that Miami call was right. But I would say that, 98% of the time, that by the time the ball snapped on the next play, they've gotten the previous call right. And in so many of those cases, including big plays, they didn't have it right in the first place.
Okay. The over-unders are all very high this week. The 49ers in the Cowboys game, 46.5. If you win all 5 of the first games last week, if you went over and even moved the over line, you probably made a lot of money if you kind of got on that kick. All right. So the over-unders are high this week as well. Is that going to be a false impression from last week? Should we look for higher scoring games? generally when you think playoffs, you think the defenses may kick in a little bit, things get a little bit tighter, the scores are a little bit lower. Would you lean more overish for these games this week or more underish here on a general basis?
Well, I think I hate to generalize like that. I would look at the matchups, but if we're going to generalize, I mean, look at what college football has become in recent years, even in their playoffs. You think, these are the biggest games. These 20, 21-year-old kids are playing. They're not going to handle the pressure well. There are going to be mistakes. There's no way Georgia and TCU are going over 53 points or whatever it is. And then when the game is played, one team has 50 some odd points,
right.
Or 60 or whatever they had. I mean, every game goes over, and that's starting to creep into the NFL. Again, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but I do think that it's something like you said. As the weather gets colder and as the teams get better defensively, which you would think would be the case as the field shrinks, you would expect the scores to come down some, but I'm not going to predict that. I mean, especially this week where, like I said, these aren't even real playoff games this week. Kansas City and Jacksonville is not a playoff game. Philadelphia and the Giants, as much as they are rivals, that's not a quality playoff game. And so, might the score be lower in San Francisco than Dallas because you got two good defenses? Okay, I could buy that. Right. But I certainly would not predict that for the Kansas City and the Philadelphia game.
Okay, we'll get into the games in 1 second. What's your other pet peeves? Go ahead and air them out.
Oh, my pet peeve is about coaches / quarterbacks who are clueless when it comes to clock management.
Oh my God! Yeah.
Normally, over the years, coaches have gotten a lot of criticism for not calling timeouts at the right point, and you still see some of that. But what you're seeing more often, especially in that Miami game, which was embarrassing, was the fact that Miami broke the huddle with the play clock. The color turns red at a certain point on the TV screen. So, I mean, we see it, at some point. I'm not even sure if it's at 10 or at 5, but it seemed that it was in the red every time Miami broke the huddle. Like, what is taking these guys so long to get the play on the field? And then it gives the quarterback no choice but to run that play because he never, barely has time to run it. A lot of times they don't. I mean, and then the coaches, and again, I don't get it that with all the analytics in the game today, the difference between a timeout and 5 yards, there's no comparison at any point in the game, except for very, very late, where a timeout is worth less than 5 yards. If you have a choice of taking a delay a game or using a timeout, you always take the delay a game. I mean, these timeouts are invaluable.
Yeah.
And even if it's a timeout can save you basically 2 plays, and 2 plays you get 10, 15, 20, 25 yards. Mm-hmm. Especially when you're rushing late in the game and you're used to these timeouts, and you're going to sacrifice cash in one of these things to save yourself 5 yards on a 2nd and 8. I mean, are you kidding? You don't know better than that? And then the Miami game. How many times have we seen in the playoffs where this team's got 1 timeout left? There's 2 minutes to go. Like, it's impossible. You can't have 1 timeout left with 2 minutes to go, especially in the second half. The first half, they're less valuable, but even then, we're starting to see, this whole, the Belichick-Brady principle, which is, always lose, always defer, get the second half kickoff, and get your 2 for 1, score at the end of the half, score at the beginning of the second half, and you win the game. And so getting that last touchdown in the first half or last field goal in the first half is becoming, a higher and higher priority. And to do that, you're obviously better off saving your timeouts. But I just think, to me, it's like there is no excuse for coaches, wasting their timeouts. And the number one cause, without even a number two, a number one cause of this is getting the plays in too late to the quarterback. It's just, the Miami coach might be a great offensive coach, but he seems to be, it takes me 25 seconds to come up with a great play call. Well, in that case, you're not delivering the right play because we needed it 15 seconds ago. And the poor Miami quarterback, they got a third stringer in there in the first place. And I kind of half thought it was his fault, or maybe he wasn't understanding the terminology or something, or the coach had to dumb it down, or I don't know. I mean, it was shocking to me how many times they're in the huddle. They're still in the huddle. They're still in the huddle. It's like, you guys have gotten 5 delays a game, and you've already exhausted all 3 of your timeouts. Where you start getting your plays in earlier, and it's a killer. You comes late in the game, and you need that 1 or 2 extra timeouts that you don't have because you stupidly thought, let's save 5 yards and use our first timeout of the second half. With 10 minutes to go in the third quarter. It's come on, guys. Wake up.
So case in point, and if you remember, obviously the Ravens butchered their clock with John Harbaugh at the end of their game with Cincinnati. But if you flip the coin on that to his brother Jim, if you recall, Dave, at the end of the TCU game, the announcers are like, "All right, they need to call a timeout in Michigan." I'm like, "No, I don't think they need to call it yet." And Harbaugh in Michigan did a clinic. I think he made TCU have to get 2 extra first downs. He waited so long to use his first time out. It was almost a masterful job. I remember saying that to myself at the time. Do you recall that?
Well, yeah, I mean, yes, and like you said, that is hard to complain about. About Harbaugh, John Harbaugh's situation with the Ravens, because what the common fan doesn't understand, and by extension, the broadcasters have a tough time explaining if they even know what's going on, is the last thing Baltimore wanted to do in that type of situation is use your timeouts early, get your tying score or go ahead score, whatever, and then give the ball back to Burrow with 30 seconds to go. We saw what happened at the end of the Buffalo-Kansas City game in the playoffs last year when they left too much time on the clock. It's like, I think coaches now are going overboard in terms of, no, we're not going to call a timeout within the 1 minute to 2 minute mark. We're going to save them all for the final 1 minute. And even then, we're going to let the clock run down to maybe 30 seconds. And then we'll have people at our disposal, for the final 30 seconds when we need, when we really need, to set up the field goal or to throw the ball down the middle of the field for a key first down. And so it's a tough decision, and that can very easily get away from you. Yeah, you'd love to say, you see it sometimes that, okay, I understand why they're huddling up right now. There's a minute to go. The clock's running. Yeah, they got all three timeouts left, but it's too early to call them. It's fine. Huddle up, get a nice play, but don't huddle up for 25 seconds. Huddle up for 5 seconds, get your play across, run to the line, snap the ball at 50, and that way, in that case, it was like they exhausted like half their time. And that's why they ended up, walking into the off season with timeouts in their pocket. They had I thought, the right idea, but poor execution on it. And you see this a lot in the NBA, where teams at the end of the game, they don't. It's shocking how they don't know what they're doing. I don't know if you watch NBA a lot, but
I watch actually most every game.
Yeah, the big game the other night where the Warriors played the Celtics, right? And the Celtics made a 3-pointer to tie the game up. I think there was 18 seconds to go. All right, now Steve Kerr is probably the best play scripter in the NBA. You watch him after a timeout, he always gets an easy shot. They had a timeout left, but they chose not to use it. And instead, Curry walked the ball up the court, and he dribbled the ball between his legs 7 times. He got a high screen that didn't work. He ended up shooting a 35-foot fadeaway while falling into the bench that didn't even hit the rim. And it's like, are you seriously telling me that was your play call with the biggest game of the season, so to speak, on the line?
With the lead, the whole game.
Yeah, is that all you got? It's like, what do you do at practice? Now, understand, football practice is a lot more than basketball does. But it's kind of the same concept. Both of them are fearful that we don't want to practice too hard because it's a long season and we want to save energy. And I totally understand that. But there's no excuse not to use, either make it a day, which I don't think you can really do, or 15 minutes or a half hour a day to go over, okay, today we're going to go over a situation where there's 30 seconds to go and we've got the ball at the 50-yard line and we need a field goal. Okay, we're gonna script some plays and we're gonna call this play number 1, we'll call this play number 2. And so that and you see this, the good teams, Mahomes, he runs to the line, he hand signals to his receivers, or says something, they don't even need to huddle up. They're all on the same page. They march the ball down the field. And then there are other teams where they got no clue what's going on. The ball is snapped, 3 receivers are standing there. They don't know what they're doing. The quarterback is told the tight end, curl over the middle and I'll throw it to you. Well, gee, isn't that a great idea? Why aren't the teams better prepared for these final, seconds or final 2 minutes of an NFL game when that's a very, very easy thing to practice. It doesn't take any energy. And in basketball, the team should have, I would say, 10 scripted plays for the final play, like the Warriors had the other night, so that they don't need to call a timeout. You call a timeout, the other team puts their best defense on the court. I understand why you don't call a timeout, but it's like, okay, the Boston scores, the Warriors inbound, and Curry screams, all right, play 6, and everybody knows, we've been working on that in practice. Okay, there's a down screen, he comes around, we know whatever, we find Curry coming around to pick, he gets a wide open shot from the corner, exactly what Kerr would have scripted on the sidelines if he had called a timeout. But it's just, teams don't do that. You see Jason Tatum at the end of the game, through his legs. Everybody else was standing there. Through his legs. Oh, let me throw up a 30-footer at the buzzer. No good. Oh, we're going into overtime. It's like, it's like, well, we haven't had time to practice any of these things. Yeah, you've had plenty of time to practice these things.
Right.
If you've chosen not to do it under the guise of, well, we don't want to tire the guys out. As someone who used to play basketball, that was the funnest part of practice, when you practice these late game situations, and one team wins and the other team loses, and you trash talk with each other, and it's like, I wish we could do that more often. Well, in the NBA, when you're together 7 days a week for 6 months, and football basically the same thing, there's no excuse why teams don't do that more often.
So if you're in the audience, go back and look at this replay. It was right before halftime of the Celtics Warriors game. Well, I think it was Tatum who was taking the ball across the midcourt line, and Stephen Curry does the most beautiful pickpocket steal transitioning into a more than half-court heave, which switched, I think, pretty much. And that was one of the coolest things I've seen all season in the NBA. What was more impressive, Dave, the steal or the shot?
But you're right. The steal was good anticipation. It was, a very careless pass for that type of, for that kind of, situation in a game. But it's really not surprising to see Curry make that shot because you see him practicing it all the time.
Yeah.
And
from the stands and everything. Yeah.
Right. And it's almost like watching Aaron Judge take batting practice. It's kind of worth the price of admission to watch Curry's pregame routine because he's doing, he's having a good time. He's joking around. He's shooting a bunch of 3-pointers. He's throwing left-handers off the backboard. It's like he's auditioning for the Globetrotters or something. And then, of course, he's practicing his shots from midcourt. He's practicing his shots from the tunnel, and it's like, and it's almost like, hey, you go to the game last night? What a game. And then, the other guy's response is, yeah, man, we were there for warm-up. You should have seen Curry. He made one from the tunnel. And it's like, you saw the Celtics and Warriors play an overtime game, and that's your memory? Well, yeah, I see, I see the overtime games all the time. I'm just never there in person to see. And it's the same thing, like I said, for batting practice. It's like, oh, you were at that Yankees-Astros game last night? Oh, man, what a game, 10 innings. And then you say, oh, yeah, well, we left after 8 because we were tired because we got there an hour and a half beforehand. You should have seen how far Judge hit the ball all up on that railroad track. Oh, my God. It was like the greatest thing I've ever seen. Like, seriously? You watched the World Series Classic or, whatever, playoff classic, and you come away, saying you saw Aaron Judge hit a batting practice home run? Well, yeah, I've never seen a guy hit one that far before. And that's that's Curry. That Curry puts on that kind of a show, kind of unique, to anybody in the NBA. And then once in a while, it spills into the games where everybody gets to see it, and that was one of those occasions.
Okay, the games today, I could talk NBA forever. Let's get into these playoff games. Kansas City in Arrowhead with a loud fan base. I've been to a regular season game in Arrowhead against the Chargers. That was loud enough. The Jaguars and Trevor Lawrence will be coming in today. It looks like we do have some weather for this game. The point spread has gone from 8.5 to 9.5 overnight. The over-under is 52.5. And I think I know which way you're going to lean on these two games, Dave. You've pretty much already said it. And if what happens with these two favorites winning, and if they win in emphatic fashion, I mean, it is going to be a legit bloodbath for the sports books. It just is. And there are two plays I like as well. I'm trying to scare myself off of them because everybody in the world, I feel like, is on the Chiefs and the Eagles. Let's get into this first game first. Mahomes, he has the experience. He's going to play in this weather if we do get some rain, snow, which it looks like we definitely are. That's going to be a Mahomes type of deal. I think that's not going to phase him. The wind's not going to be an issue. The Jaguars, if you look at their games, yeah, they had a nice comeback last week. But, man, if the Chargers were just smart enough to run the football, I don't think they have a chance to come back. But that's a passing team, so they were always left in the game. This over-under is right here in the low 50s. Now, Christian Kirk, he has a good matchup. I think the slot defender for the Chiefs, I think in his first game as a professional, I think he's coming off the bench there. He played against Hunter Renfrow, and he got burned by him for the Raiders. And Kirk had a couple touchdowns against the Chiefs last time, so maybe he's the chance that's going to give the Jaguars some hope if they can break free some of those receivers like Zay Jones and Everett as well, if they can find some room in the secondary there against the Chiefs team, who hasn't proved to be that great on defense, to be honest. But at the end of the day, Dave, I think it's just kind of like what you said. This is a bad spot for the Jaguars. This is not a playoff game. Is this going to be a bloodbath for the sports books?
Well, it's their own fault if it is. I mean, you got to know going in that, if you watched Jacksonville play last week, in the first half of that game, you were wondering why did the Texans show up? I mean, this couldn't possibly be a playoff team. And Lawrence, who I love Lawrence.
Right, we give the Jags credit all year on the show, I think. There's been no Jacksonville hate. We can pick them to be good.
Right. But Lawrence was throwing the ball crazily. They were just completely overmatched by the situation than the Chargers. And we've talked about the Chargers all year being a disappointing team. And sure enough, it came back to bite them in the end because their defense just couldn't hold up. And like you said, we did talk a lot about this last week. Is that the way? The best way to win playoff games, or any game for that matter, is build a lead and run the ball in the second half. But a lot of these teams don't run the ball well. And San Diego, the Chargers are one of them. I mean, as great as Eckler is as a running back, it's all pass receiving. Heck, they've kind of phased him out as a running back. They're using Kelly quite a bit. But anyway, that game was really bad. Embarrassing for Jacksonville the way that game started. And that was at home against a fairly weak opponent. This is on the road, bad elements, and against the best team in your conference. This, they're not going to fall behind 28-0 and catch up this time. They could fall behind 28-0, but if that happens, Kansas City surprisingly effective at holding leads because they do run the ball decently, and they have a quarterback who's able to move the chains without taking big chances when the situation calls for it. I think that this is good. If Jacksonville has a chance to score a lot of late points in this game, only because literally Kansas City could be ahead, minimum 3 touchdowns, close to 30 points ahead before Jacksonville really wakes up and gets their couple of scores. But there's no doubt in my mind that this is the mismatch of the week, and should really be a blowout.
So basically a green light on all the Kansas City props?
Well, yes, but, as we've talked about so many times with Kansas City, and again, from my fantasy perspective, Mahomes obviously is the green light guy, and Kelsey is a green light guy. Yeah. But the rest of the guys, you don't really know, which running back is it going to be this week? Which wide receiver is it going to be this week? They spread the ball around really well. It just seems in the end that Kelsey gets his 80 yards, 6 catches, 80 yards, and a touchdown. Mahomes gets his 300 yards, and 4 touchdowns. But then it's, Hardeman and Schuster-Smith gets one, and Valdez, Scantling gets one, and McKinnon gets one. I mean, it's hard to pinpoint which one of those supporting cast guys is going to put up the big number. So yeah, I would focus on the heavyweights. Just focus on Kelsey and Mahomes, and I think that both are going to come up huge this week. And this is something that I'll mention maybe four times in the 4 games. But this game is ripe for a defensive score as well, because you've got a young quarterback who's going to be under pressure. Already showed last week signs of cracking, to the pressure early on in the game, and if he's throwing the ball 40 times, which he probably will, because they're going to be behind, he's going to throw a couple to the other team. Or he's going to get sacked and fumble. I just think the door is wide open in this game. It's, I would say, a 2-to-1 odds that that Kansas City would score a defensive touchdown. And so if you're getting better than 2-to-1 on that happening, which I presume you are.
Oh yeah, plus 490.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is low for that. Actually, they're usually a little bit higher.
Well, Yeah, and that's an indication that somebody
Yeah,
thinks
that's a good sign.
it's a good possibility. Well, I certainly do as well. I think that's worth a stab as well.
Okay, passing yards, Mahomes 310.5. Over that?
Yes. I'd be more comfortable with him, in terms of touchdowns, because, like I said, Kansas City has become a decent running team, and I don't, it's not going to be a game where they gain, 600 yards. I mean, if they get to 500, that'll be kind of rare for a playoff game, and yet, I can see them rushing for 150, 175. Which is going to put you at, the low 300s in order to get to 500. And so I wouldn't go overboard on his passing yardage. I would instead, look at the
over 2.5 minus 120.
There you go. There you go. That's the best number I've heard so far.
Okay, great. I like that. Let's see what a couple other anytime touchdowns. How about Zay Jones or Kirk at 2-1 for a touchdown?
I mean, you got Marvin Jones as well. You've got the tight end who they throw to probably more than any of those guys. And then the difference with them is when they get down by the goal line, they get the ball to Etienne quite a bit. And so he's as likely to score a touchdown, not because he's having a big rushing day, but because they throw one to Jones and he tackled at the 2-yard line, and now they hand the ball to Etienne and he plunges in a time or two. He'd be the guy that I would look at to get possibly even 2 touchdowns in this game, cheap touchdowns. And you wouldn't necessarily say, why is the running back
plus 500 for him to 2 touchdowns? Yep.
Why is a running back being projected to score 2 touchdowns in a game where they're only going to run the ball 12 times? Well, that's because when you get first and goal at the 2, this team, will try to plunge it in a couple of times, as opposed to Kansas City, who will hand it to a guy on a jet sweep or dish the ball forward to Kelsey on a quick screen or something crazy. That anything other than just handing the ball off. They'll do their, trick huddle where they circle around, around the rosy, and do something crazy. That's how Kansas City scores. Jacksonville's much more likely, I think, to run the ball in. But that's one of those. Can you really predict that he's going to go out of bounds at the 2-yard line rather than in the end zone? It's a hard thing to predict, but I do think that Jacksonville, as I said, their tendency is to try to run the ball in those situations. So that's who I think would be most likely to score a touchdown or 2 for them.
Okay, Kelsey 2 touchdowns plus 380, and would you be willing maybe just to throw like $5 down on the KC defense for 2 touchdowns at 50-1?
Yes. I mean, I think in every game I'm going to be saying that, okay. Because, like I said, it's there's just going to be the opportunity there to do it, and you're talking about the a lot of young quarterbacks this week, a lot of inexperienced quarterbacks, but one that we saw last week kind of not handle the situation well, and like I said, it was a situation that he should have been very comfortable with at home against a team that they'd already played, against a team that gives up a lot of points. He should have come out with all guns blazing in that game, and yet he came out and was really bad early in that game. I mean, it seemed like his first 3 passes were intercepted. So if you're thinking, well, he has 3 passes intercepted this game, and Kansas City's got a nice pass rush. The weather's a little cold. Maybe he's having a hard time holding the ball when he gets sacked. There's going to be literally 50 opportunities when he's dropping back to pass for something bad to happen. And when that's the case, and this guy is, he'll make 35 good things happen. He'll throw, 10 bad incompletions. But it's those other 5 times when he throws it to the other team or fumbles the ball, where all it takes is one bounce up to a lineman or a linebacker, and there's your first touchdown. And then that only makes things worse because now they're even more of a hurry to go down and score because they just fell 3 touchdowns behind. So that increases the chances that they're going to have another mistake. So yeah, I mean, I'd go with the snowball effect there and take a shot with two defensive scores.
Okay, tonight's game, 8:15. Man, those Philly fans are going to have a long day of drinking before this one. The Giants, divisional rival, like you said, 7.5 is the point spread for the Eagles. That line has stayed the same, although it's looking like the juice is going up just a hair now to minus 115. The over-under is 48.5 in this game. Again, this is, if it's KC and Philly, I mean, we are looking at a bloodbath for the sports books. You like the favorite here too, right?
Well, again, I understand why there's less action on the favorite in this game. There are 2 big reasons. Number one is the uncertainty of the quarterback, and what is obviously Jalen Hurts is going to play this game, but where is he at physically? I mean, is it possible he's going to be in midseason form? And I can see a lot of people speculating that he won't be. And there's no real reason to believe that that's the case. He's had a lot of time off. They didn't even play last week. I think he should be in really good shape for this game, but you don't know. You don't know, the seriousness of his injury and what have you. So I can see where people would be a little hesitant to jump on the Philly bandwagon here. And the secondly, you've got the New York aspect here. Well, where's the biggest money in this game coming from? Well, it's probably coming from the state of New York, and their team's been a moneymaker all season long. They're getting more than a touchdown. They looked really good last week, and a lot of New Yorkers are back in their team. So I think that both of those are kind of artificial, factors in here. It's like, okay, so you're telling me that because of loyalty and because of a lack of inside information that the Giants are a good play this week? Well, that's what some people are saying. That's not what I'm saying. I think Philly, I think Philly's a way better team than the Giants. I think Philly's a way better team than basically anybody. They have been all season. I mean, look at their games this year. How many times, you watch the crawler on the bottom of the screen or whatever. We're out here in the West. We don't get to see Philly that often. Right. It's like, oh, Philly just went ahead 7-0. Oh, Philly's ahead 14-0. Oh, Philly's ahead 17-0. I mean, didn't really matter who they were playing. All you knew is that, oh man, I hope I'm not going up against Hurts and Brown this week in fantasy. And I think that this, I think the Giants are a better team than the Jaguars. I think they're a far better team than the Jaguars. So I'm less confident that this will be a total blowout, but I think the Eagles might be a better team than the Chiefs. And I don't think people realize how good the Eagles have been this year. They're not playing one of the heavyweight teams. They're playing kind of, that second level team. And I respect what the Giants have done. I just don't think they're at this level. And I think that Philadelphia will end up winning this game somewhat comfortably.
Okay, and I'll give you credit on that too, because at the beginning of the season, Philly had to earn your respect. You weren't quite buying them, so that's a good point of view that you have. They've actually earned your respect in the way that they've been able to be dominant over their opponents.
Absolutely. I hate to keep blowing the horn of fantasy football, but right. Sometimes, especially like I said, when you're in San Francisco, man, I could tell you everything that's going on with the Rams. I could tell you everything that's going on with the Raiders. I could tell you everything that's going on with the Chargers, the Seahawks. But like these, wow, the Eagles are 7-1. I didn't even see that coming. Who they beat? I haven't seen. I haven't been paying attention. and then in fantasy football you see, well, gee, if you haven't been paying attention to the Eagles, that just means you haven't played the team that has Hurts yet. And there's even some teams, as was the case in my league, where Hurts and Brown were on the same team, which was totally unfair. And so then you go up against them. Oh, I draw a good matchup this week. The Eagles are playing, the Cowboys, and then the next thing you know, Hurts has 3 running touchdowns. Brown has 180 yards and a touchdown, and you just got steamrolled by these Eagles. And then you start paying attention. Well, gee, has this been happening? Well, yeah, it's been happening for like 6 weeks now. You just haven't been paying attention. And, and you're right. I didn't, especially with Hurts. I mean, I would never have, told you that, oh, yeah, he's going to be a sleeper this year in fantasy. You should draft him ahead of some of these other quarterbacks. Heck, I probably had 5 shots at him and didn't take him. But yes, they did earn my respect. And it wasn't because, what we're seeing now is a lot of people, tuned into the playoffs last week and saw some of these, really high scoring games, and wow, the Jaguars, they've got what a story, and the Giants, oh man, they put up a bunch of points, and everything that happened last week, I would say throw that out, because that's a 1 week aberration. Those were not real playoff games. This is a playoff game for the Giants. They're up against a real playoff team, and I don't think they belong there. So I do think that I'm not going to be surprised at all. This game ends up 31-17 or what have you.
That's funny. We were talking about correct scores last night. The Ant-Man said 31-17, and I said 31-10. So we're
So that's I mean, again, I don't think. Excuse me. The Jacksonville game could really get away from them this week. I don't think this game can really get away from the Giants. They're just too solid. The coach has done too good a job. It's a division game. They know each other. I don't see this game as it's 27-0, and let's see if the Giants can come back. I think the Giants will find a way. Jones has done well enough that he'll find a way to move the ball. They'll get their couple of touchdowns this game. They'll hang in there, but I just don't think they have the firepower to hang with Philly.
And 75-1 odds, 31-17 Eagles, and 100-1 odds if you want to back that up with a 31-10. Okay, so let's go here. And all right, there we go. All right. Okay, tomorrow night's game. Sorry, Dave, having a problem loading up the sports.
That's okay. Let me throw in one player here to watch in this game.
Yes, great.
And that is Smith, the wide receiver for the Eagles. Yep. So many teams in the NFL have, a one shutdown corner that you've got to put on Brown when you play the Eagles. And yet Smith, when I saw Smith play for Alabama in college football, I thought he was the greatest receiver that I've seen in college football in a long time. It's like he's playing in the Southeastern Conference with there's NFL, level cornerbacks, and I haven't seen one within 10 yards of him on any pass that's come to him all season. And I thought that he might even go higher. Excuse me. He might even go higher in the draft than he did. I thought the Eagles landed a really good, pick when they got him. He struggled last year. I don't think he ever learned how to run a pass pattern at Alabama because he was so fast he didn't have to. But now he's become a real polished receiver. Not only that, but he's a number 2 receiver where you don't guard him with your best corner. So he's seeing second level cornerbacks, he's the kind of guy who in any game, he can catch any pass and take it 80 yards on any play. He's the kind of guy in a game like this that could actually outgain Brown. Because they might both go over 100 yards. But I take a shot with Smith in this game for a big yardage game, 100, 120 yards.
Okay, and he's plus 145 for one touchdown. If you look for Smith, yeah, he can definitely break a long one for sure. His over just 65.5 is his regular number.
Yeah, see, and that's one catch.
Yeah. Plus 370 to get over 100, plus 520 for 110.
Yeah, wow, that those extra 10 yards gave you a nice boost there.
Yeah,
I would, I take a number like 110 or 120.
125
and
is plus 880.
There you go. I mean, I take a shot at both of those, 110 and 125, because, like I said, it's easy to project that there's going to be 4 Philly touchdowns in this game. And if that's the case, and you've got this guy, this touchdown waiting to happen kind of guy on the opposite side of the field, and where the Giants have their best defensive secondary guy, the chances are very right for him to catch one, break a tackle, and then he's gone. So he's my guy to watch in this game.
Okay, I like that angle. Good angle. 7 o'clock. 3 o'clock Sunday. Bengals, Buffalo Bills, minus 5.5 for the Bills at home. Over under 48.5. The Bengals have some injuries on the offensive line. That's the question mark for them. Joe Burrow is just a cool customer at quarterback, and a little bit more cooler, I think, of a customer than Josh Allen. I'm gonna keep on my trend a little bit of what we talked about last week with you saying Allen's still elite. Something just seems to shoot himself in the foot a little bit here and there, and he did that in the playoff game too against Miami. But the Bills minus 5.5, over under 48.5. Whether it looks like it'll move in the second half, I think this over is too low for these two, to be honest. I could see a lot of points in this game. That's going to be my main angle. What do you think?
Well, this is the one game that, in my opinion, matches two heavyweights. I think it's going to be a very good game. I don't really understand why Buffalo is favored by as much as they are. I think you'd easily make a case that Cincinnati's had a better season, especially over the second half of the season. They've really got it going offensively. But they have line problems, like you said. And there's the two, and you mentioned the other problem too on the other side of the ball, which is Allen throwing the ball to the other team far too often. Both of those teams could be difference makers in this game. If Cincinnati's line, we remember this from the Super Bowl last year, right? The Cincinnati's line has really struggled against the Rams. It cost them the game. I think Burrow at this point is playing better than Allen. I think his total core of receivers is better than what Allen has. Although nothing against what Allen has, but I think that Cincinnati, all told, except for the line, is a better offensive team than Buffalo. But the line scares me. If they've got a nice pass rush on Burrow, it's going to cause incompletions. It's going to cause them to have to kick field goals or stall drives, because he's sacked and they have to punt. The other side of the ball, I think Buffalo, should be able to, as they always do, should be able to move the ball decently on Cincinnati. But Cincinnati is a decent defensive team, so I don't really see them really exploding for a lot of points like we've talked about in these first two games. And you've got the Allen angle where every week he throws two balls to the other team for, God knows what reason. That there goes two of your drives out the window and possibly even setting up Cincinnati points. So I think because of that, I think the two offenses will struggle to score points more so than their yardage totals. I think it's one of those games where the ball's going to move fairly easily. And they're going to get into the end zone once in a while. But there's going to be, I don't know how many total possessions you get in the NFL game. Let's say that there's 20. There's going to be 6 to 8 possessions that are just wasted by interceptions, by sacks that cause field goals, by sacks that cause punts, and you can't throw away a third of your possessions in the game and say, well, this game is going to be 28 to 27. I mean, if it is, that just means that both defenses played very poorly in the red zone, and I find that hard to believe because both of these defenses are pretty good. So I think it's a pick'em game. I think it's could very well be decided by field goals, and it's a game where will Burrow fumble, when he's sacked the third or fourth or fifth time, which is going to happen. Or two interceptions is a guy who can turn around and run it the other way. And those are the kinds of games that kill me. It's like, you know what? Man, this game should have been an under, and now Allen throws one to the other team and gives up a touchdown, and those are points that they didn't deserve. So I think it's a hard game to project because of that. I don't think it's going to be a real high-scoring game, and I do think it's going to be a real tight game. So, where does that lead you? Maybe it leads you right back to the basic, which is just take Cincinnati and the points.
Right.
Forget about all the wonderful 50,000 different angles you could go with this game. Just go back. Yeah, go back to your basic and take the points. Which I don't understand. I don't understand what that's all about.
I actually pulled up the kicker props. McPherson is over 6.5 for his points. Tyler Bass over 7.5 for his points. If anyone cared. The other thing I would
think that Cincinnati would be the team that kicked more field goals because, like I said, I think when they get the ball down into the red zone, Buffalo gets the ball down into the red zone. They have a weapon that Cincinnati doesn't have, and that is their quarterback. He'll run and get a key first down. He'll run into the end zone at times, whereas the Cincinnati quarterback, he'll drop back and he'll get sacked. And that's the difference, where Buffalo might get a touchdown or two in the same type of situation where Cincinnati's going to end up kicking field goals. So I think that will Cincinnati's kicker kick 2 field goals in this game, which is basically what he needs to get to that 6.5 number. I think the odds of that are way, way better than 50-50. That's where I'm going on this game. Take Cincinnati and the points. Take McPherson and the over points on kicking.
So Patrick Mahomes over 2.5 passing touchdowns. Evan McPherson over 6.5 kicking points. We're going to work a little parlay and find something to go with that. Just for fun, Dave, since you mentioned the Kansas City defense with 2 touchdowns at 50-1, I'm putting together just a little parlay ticket. If we can get some defensive scores here, I actually was saying this last week. I'm not surprised. We haven't seen as many defensive scores just in the regular season or just overall. I feel like we're kind of overdue for that kind of thing. So on the ticket, I got this. I'm going to round robin it, and it's only going to cost me $16 at the end of the day. So 2 touchdowns for Kansas City, 50-1. Just for the hell of it, we'll throw Philadelphia defense in there for 2 touchdowns. We'll just take a stab. Maybe that can happen. And then if we're going to pick the Buffalo or Cincinnati defense, which one are we going to put in the slot?
Well, that's hard because
I've got Buffalo in there right now for the sack.
What do you think is more likely? Right. Do you think it's more likely if Buffalo's going to get a score on defense, it's going to be on an interception? If
a sack fumble,
Cincinnati's going to get a score on defense, it's going to be on one of Allen's interceptions, and if Buffalo gets the score on defense, it's going to be on a sack where he fumbles. I just think that there's going to be 4 to 5 sacks, as there's probably going to be maybe 2 interceptions. So I think the odds are greater that, what's happening 5 times is going to trump what's happening 2 times. So, yeah, I would take Buffalo, with the home field advantage, and hope that creates an extra, mistake by Cincinnati or 2. And also it's a lot easier a lot of times to get that score off a sack, because if he fumbles the ball, and now, it's often a lineman that picks it up, but he's running downfield against other linemen. It's not, you intercept the pass, you still got to weave your way through, a bunch of other real good athletes to get down the field. A lot of times in these cases, we saw this in the Cincinnati game last week, where they knocked the ball away from Hundley, and all of a sudden here's a guy running down the field. It took him 25 seconds to get from goal line to goal line. Fastest guy chasing him was a tight end, and so that's it's a lot easier scoring that way than it is, I think, a lot of times on an interception.
Honestly, I think the thing to do is you just do 2 different tickets and put each in on a ticket. And you probably really do 4 different tickets and do the same thing with Dallas and San Francisco.
Well, there we go. We're going to get into that now. Yeah. Yes. And so let's, before you start, writing your tickets, let's talk about this last game.
And for the payouts too. So just so you know, Kansas City for 2, Philadelphia for 2, and then, we'll mix them all together. Dallas, San Fran, Buffalo, and Cincinnati. One of the $2 a 2-game parlay for $2 will pay on the average almost $2,000. That's if you hit one of the bigger dogs, as well as one of the smaller ones. Now, if you get 2 in Kansas City and Philly, that's going to be a lot more than that. The average of the 3-game parlays for $1 is $15,000. So $1 to win $15,000, and they'll only let you put. Actually, that's when I had 3 touchdowns. So you put $1 on the all 4, $202,000 if KC, Philly get 2, and then you have any combination of the other 2 teams. So big payouts on this defensive parlay. Interesting stuff. Yeah, this is your wheelhouse, Dave. The 49ers, we've said it before. You talked about them more than any other team. You know them the best. You're right there. 3.5 points is the point spread here. 46.5. It sounds like you're giving Dallas a puncher's shot there after their performance at Tampa Bay. But Tampa Bay was a bad team. Let's face it, that was not a good team. They weren't deserving of being a playoff team. Really, they're just a couple of lucky plays away from being 6-11, right? So, but Dallas flexed their muscles pretty well. And, San Fran has had their number, the Cowboys, in just over the years. And I think that's actually my first playoff game I remember is the Dwight Clark catch. That's the first vivid memory of football, and then the next game was the Super Bowl against the Bengals in Detroit, right? So good game here. I give the Cowboys a shot. You're right there in San Fran. You know these Niners well. How's this game going to go?
Well, it's one of my heavyweight versus non-heavyweight matchups, so I'm going to go with the heavyweight here. I think that Dallas scares me in terms of, what we saw on Monday night. Not necessarily, as you said. I mean, the 49ers just played the same Tampa Bay team a month ago. That was the game that was 35-0, and they were playing Brady in the fourth quarter. I mean, they blew out Tampa even worse than Dallas did. So I wouldn't put too much stock in, oh, my God, Dallas must be a juggernaut. They were all over Tampa Bay. Like you said, Tampa Bay just had a terrible season this year. That said, Dallas has a lot of talent across the field, especially on defense. And the 49ers, if they're vulnerable at any position, I still say it's at quarterback. And their offensive line is strong on the outside, not so strong in the middle. And so I think the potential is there, as I said last week with Seattle, and I was wrong. I think the potential is there to put pressure on the quarterback. He didn't have a very good first half. He tried to throw the ball, to Seattle a couple times early on in that game. But maybe he needed that game to, kind of get his feet on the ground, his first playoff game ever. This is obviously a much bigger game. I think that you've got two quarterbacks in this game who could potentially be error prone. We see this a lot from Dak. He's very hot and he's very cold. You got 49ers with a very good pass rush and a great defense all the way around. It would be very easy to project 3 Dallas turnovers in this game, at least 2 interceptions. I also think it'd be very easy to project the 49ers to have a couple of turnovers because their quarterback under pressure throws the ball, crazily or, somewhere he's not supposed to be throwing it when he's supposed to be throwing the ball away because of inexperience. So I think this is a game where probably as much as any other game that we've seen so far, this is ripe for a defensive score. This game, it's just this game's an accident waiting to happen. You got two good, you got two good offenses, and I think that each offense has the potential to put up a lot of points. I think the 49ers are better on both sides of the ball. I think the 49ers will win this game, but I do think that if Dallas is going to pull the upset or at least hang in there, it's going to be because they take advantage of the quarterback. And he's done so well this year. He's kind of passed every test. Like I said, he was a little shaky last year in the first half, but man, he was brilliant in the second half. It's hard to say, he's just, he can't play at this level. He's going to fold up this week. And that, there's just no way you could predict that, but that remains a possibility in this kind of game against this kind of opponent. And, I'm not going to be surprised at all if each team gets a defensive score in this game. And then, the score is, I don't think this could in any way be a blowout, but I do think the 49ers will find a way to win this game 24-17.
Okay. Correct score there for the 49ers and the Cowboys, 24-17 is...
Well, it's got to be the lowest odds. That's got to be the most common.
That's got to be 65-1. So pretty good. Yeah, 65-1 is about as low as it gets.
Yeah,
there's a 55-1 on 20-17. Everything else looks like it's 100 or 1 the better. Yeah. So that's
I used to at the office, at the newspaper office. We used to have a pick the score of every game contest, and we did, and you got like 100-point bonus if you got it exactly right. And there was always like one guy who got one game exact. I mean, that just shows you how hard it is.
Right.
Out of the 10 people who entered this contest, one guy would get one score exactly right each week. And that score was 24-17, way more often.
Interesting. Yeah.
To the point where one guy just started putting 24-17 on every game. But of course, you still have to get the right winner, which is hard enough to do in the NFL. So, but anyway, that's kind of where I see this game landing, kind of similar to the Philly game, except for a touchdown more competitive. I would say that instead of 31-17, I would say something like 24-17. But again, like I said, I think there's a very good chance that one team, if not both, will get a defensive score in this game.
Okay, that's good to know. All right, McCaffrey, would you rather go, and you could go with both, but would you rather have over 37.5 receiving yards or over 66.5 rushing yards?
I think I'd go with the receiving yards because the 49ers, for as much as they run the ball, I don't really see them. The matchup of the 49ers offensive line against Dallas's defensive front, I give Dallas the advantage there. And so while the 49ers, I'm sure, will have, their fair share of rushing success, we saw this last week, I think, on the very first snap of the game, who's lined up a tailback but Samuel. I think they're saving him, to carry the ball like 6-7 times in a game like this. You've got Mitchell, who's been coming off the bench, and, dispel McCaffrey. He'll get his 5-6 carries. So in a game where they might only run the ball 25 times, well, there's 12 of them right there. And so now you're talking about, McCaffrey carries the ball 12 times. Is he really going to get 63 yards? Well, yeah, if he busts one. But, the chances of that happening in a game like this are not great. Meanwhile, what Purdy did better last week than, basically any 49er quarterback that I've seen in quite some time was he didn't panic. There were times when, 3 different times in that game, excuse me, it's like he rolls out, he's back to pass, he's looking, his first receiver's not open, his second receiver's not open, he scrambles to the left, it's like, oh no, he's going to throw one right to the other team, and here comes the rush, and they're going to get to him, and now all of a sudden, he looks back to his right, to the wide side of the field, and there's McCaffrey standing there all by himself, or some outlet man standing there, totally forgotten about by the other team, and yet he had the mentality that told him, hey, coach tells me there's always going to be this guy, the outlet man. He's over on the right, and just before he got hit, or just before he was going to throw one into traffic, he turns and he throws one across the field. It's like, what in the world is he doing? And then you look, and McCaffrey's got it, and with 20 yards of open field in front of him. And I think there were 3 times last week, I think on 3 different touchdowns, no less, where that was the play. And that's, McCaffrey catches one of those balls. He could run 50 yards with it. And that's all it's going to take to get over your 37 yards or whatever it was in receiving. And so I think that's a far better play than the rushing yards.
Tony Pollard receiving yards is only 18.5. Does that seem low to you?
Dallas confuses me on, how often Elliott's playing, how often Pollard's playing. I remember in fantasy where I went up against a guy with Pollard on his team, and he was playing him against me. And why would he play Dallas as backup running back against me? And then he killed me, and I've underestimated him all year. I don't know. Yes, that does seem very low because, again, all that takes is one screen pass. He breaks a tackle, and he's got a 20-yard gain. It's his only catch of the game, and yet he still got over your number for you. That does seem, surprisingly low. But when you look at the big picture, you say, what, the 49ers have the speed at linebacker to match up well with him. Catching short passes or catching screen passes or whatever. He shouldn't really be able to have a big game. But like I said, it just takes one nice catch. And even if it's on, 3rd and 30, they flip one out to him, and the 49ers basically give him 20 yards for free and tackle him and get a punt. The 49ers are saying, okay, well, thanks. That's exactly what we wanted. And yet at the same time, the Pollard backers are saying, thank you. That's exactly what we wanted. We just got 20 free yards, and I'm cashing my ticket. So I do see scenarios where that, that could certainly come true, even in a game where you're only going to catch a pass or two. Do you really want to take a chance that he's going over that number? You know what? I'd try it. I'd give it
garbage time too. Even in if it's a dominating win, even in garbage time, he could get that maybe.
Well, like I said, that's what I'm talking about. That's where the 3rd and 30 play comes in. You're at the end of the first half. You thought you were going to have a nice drive. You got a holding penalty. Then you got a sack.
Right.
Now there's 18 seconds to go. And, you got the ball, your own 25.
Dump it off so they don't get the ball back. Yeah,
right. And the defense is giving you, 20 free yards. And it's like, well, we don't want to throw an interception down the field, so let's just throw it to our safest guy, the shortest pass. Oh, it's Pollard's in the game. Okay, it's you. We're going to flip it to you. Get some of these giant cowboy linemen out in front of you, and gain your 20 yards. And that's where, you've got the ticket. It's over 18 and a half. He caught the ball. He's got 5. He's got 10. He's got 15. Oh, they tackle him right before 20. Like, where are they spotting it? They spotted at 19. They spotted at 18. And then you're at the mercy of where they. Nobody really cares because they're going to be fourth down. Doesn't really matter where they spot the ball, but it means everything to you. Might be the only pass he catches all game, and then you see they spotted him. They gave him 19 yards. You have to call up on the internet stats to see exactly how many yards they gave him on that play. Gave him 19. Thank goodness. Now just don't catch another pass and lose 2 yards.
Okay. So, just a simple yes, no would do. If the 49ers do lose this game, is it because of their secondary?
If they lose this game?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
I would say no, it's not.
Okay.
I'd say it's because of the quarterback.
Okay. All right.
I think, I mean, there's no doubt.
That was option number 2. Yeah.
He's he's the weakest link. I mean, the weakest link in the 49ers is their their guard center guard combination up front. I mean, they basically have, one average guy and 2 below average guys at those positions. Now they've been there all year. They've had a lot more experience. They got 2 great tackles, standing next to them, which helps. But they're vulnerable there, and if that puts pressure on the quarterback, he could possibly be the negative factor in a loss. And people, of course, will always point to the quarterback as having been the fault, when in fact it was poor play up in front of him that led to it. But no, I would say if 49ers lose this game, it's going to be because the clock strikes midnight on Cinderella. Do I have my fairy tale right?
Okay. And the quick recap, you like the Chiefs, you like the Eagles. The Bengals, it's a coin flip game, but take the points with the Bengals. And the 49ers will beat the Cowboys. So
yes, and the simple way of looking at it, like I said, there are 5 heavyweights in the NFL. 4 of them are going to win this week. And 3 of them, 3 of them are playing lightweights. Yeah, 3 of them are playing lightweights. The 49ers, the Kansas City, and Philadelphia. I think they should all win their games. And the other game is 2 heavyweights going head to head. Should be a tough game, but given the line on that game, I would take the points there.
Okay, Dave, should be a lot of fun, man. So kick back, enjoy the games, and we'll see how all this shakes out. And we'll discuss championship Sunday. I think we're going to go live next Sunday. We can record before that, but I'll talk to you this week, and we'll figure that out one way or another. All right? Have a good one, Dave. I appreciate it.
All right, sure.
Yep, enjoy the games. We'll go ahead and take a quick break, and we'll be back right after this.
Let me tell you why. I'll tell you why. Let me tell you why.
This is the Deep End Broadcasting Network.
Hey, does your home have algae or stains on the siding? Is there grime built up on your deck or brick patio? Coastal Pressure Washing Services has a warranty of professional services. From pressure washing to window cleaning to deck and fence staining, as well as dryer vent cleaning, you got it all. Call Coastal Pressure Washing at area code 757-439-9810 or visit our website at coastalpressurewashing.net. Again, call Coastal Pressure Washing at area code 757-439-9810 or visit our website at coastalpressurewashing.net.
Dependable Solutions can provide all voiceover services for your advanced audio production needs. Think of us as an inexpensive option, no matter what the size of the project is. From one-word cameos to full script productions, contact Dependable Solutions at 757-354-5517. Do you want to advertise with Deep End Broadcasting?
We're going on right
Send
now.
us an email at deepend757@yahoo.com. That's deepend757@yahoo.com.
This is the Deep End Broadcasting Network.
It is estimated that 23%, that's 1.3 million accidents a year. Reaching for your phone, you are 4 times more likely to crash. Dialing on your phone, 2.8 times more likely to crash. And texting on your phone, you are 23 times more likely to crash. Attentive drivers are safe drivers. Dependable Solutions can provide all voiceover services for your advanced audio production needs. Think of us as an inexpensive option, no matter what the size of the project is. From one-word cameos to full script productions, contact Dependable Solutions at 757-354-5517.
Know your gambling limits. Don't ever bet what you can't cover. Wagering on sports is only fun when you do it the right way. Not every bet will win. When you get on a bad run, know it and avoid trouble. Know your gambling limits.
This is the Deep End Broadcasting Network.
Family owned and operated, CP Shuckers Cafe and Raw Bar specializes in delicious cuisine, refreshing drinks, and a laid-back atmosphere. We opened our doors in 1995 and have enjoyed being a place to either relax or celebrate ever since. Whether you are in the mood to indulge in a great meal with your friends and family or watch the game, we promise that our inventive menu, attentive service, and skilled bartenders will have you truly satisfied. Both of our locations have spacious outdoor patios for enjoying the breeze and catching a little sun. Our friendly staff at CP Shuckers will make your next dining experience a pleasant one by delivering personal care. We are open until 2 a.m. Full menu will be served until 10 p.m. and late night limited menu until 1 a.m. For larger parties, please give the location of choice a call. Pacific Avenue, 757-425-8676 or Shore Drive, 757-412-2929. More information at cpshuckers.com. Thank you for your continued support and have a shuckin' good time. All right, we're back. It is David. I'm not sure what happened here on my computer. The toolbar and the clock and everything have kind of disappeared, and I need to scroll around and try to find it. I got that disappearing toolbar. Good thing we have the IT tech, the Ant-Man, laying on the couch out there in the studio. But joining us now is Nephew Dave. The Ant-Man will be with us shortly. It is 12:49. Just when you think 4 football games won't take 3 hours, here you go. We are an hour and 49 minutes into the broadcast here on the Round Robin here on the Deep End Broadcasting Network. Again, broadcasting from the beautiful shorelines of Virginia Beach, Virginia, USA. And the Ant-Man joins us now too. Nephew Dave. We got the crew in here. 4 games, fellas. Only 7 football games left to break down on the season. Is that crazy to you? Has this been a fast football season? It seems like to me Christmas was a long time ago at this point, to be honest.
Kind of feels that way.
That being said, I feel like every football season kind of goes by fast. There we are. Everyone has their hopes and dreams. We're bleeding hearts with our own fan bases and the teams that we like. All 3 of our teams are home. They're not in the playoffs.
Oh, no doubt. They're on the golf course.
So we're sitting on the sidelines here ourselves. So you get nice objective commentary here from the crew. Boys, how you doing? How's everything going?
Doing well. Feeling good. Good to be here. We'll cover this and see what we can do.
Ant-Man, you doing okay there?
I'm actually so excited for football for football to be over that I have my Pittsburgh Pirates socks on, and I am ready for us to lose all of the games starting. When's the baseball season start? What is it? March or April?
So spring training actually is
soon.
For like February 25th. We're like a month away from a spring training game right now. A little over a month, to be honest. Which I'm gonna hopefully have news on some spring training with this network here soon. We may be on the road doing some shows, boys. At least me. If I can pull you guys away to Florida, by all means, join.
You have to pull my leg too hard.
But we'll have more on the spring training down the road. And Ant-Man, you won't have to twist my arm too much to go to PNC Park. I'll tell you that right now.
How was it, by the way? Tell the audience how wonderful. I'm not talking about the team. I'm talking about the park.
Yeah, actually, that's a good point. Now, people say, "Oh, the park's great," and they never tell you why it's great. So here is why PNC Park is great. First of all, when you walk into the stadium, it's just a beautiful stadium from the outside. Now, my hotel, where I did the live broadcast from before the game that night, on our way to Green Bay to do our live broadcast, which that actually seems like that was ages ago at this point. That was just 4 months ago. I was actually overlooking really high over the stadium, over PNC Park. So that view was great. But then once you get into where we entered, there are a million bars to get to inside the stadium, a million different food stands. And when I say different, I mean different, like restaurants. There's this, there's that, there's this, there's that. Was it Permane Brothers? There's that in there. City Field was a little bit like that. But if you go to like National Stadium, it's like, okay, here's the hot dog line. All right, do you want a chicken sandwich? Okay, here you go. Here's that. And what I thought National Stadium was actually kind of a cool stadium, and it is. It's definitely a decent little setup. PNC Park destroys that place. The view over the river with the night line, with the lights on, and the bridges all lit up. That view it's like literally a painting you could have on your wall of your family room. I mean, it's just that cool. And then there's all kinds of history just documented throughout the stadium. We actually learned a lot there. And the people who work there kind of prided themselves on working there too. That's the one thing I'm going to give Pittsburgh. And when people say, I hate the Steelers, blah, 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 you cannot be more proud of your own city than I think a Pittsburghian is than they are of their own town, to be honest. You got that from the Uber drivers, the Lyft driver or whatever, from the people working the stadium, and everybody's nice. I mean, everyone's super nice. I think maybe Pittsburgh gets the perception of people being assholes. That is not the case. Everyone is super cool and funny too. Ant-Man, you can kind of expand on that a little bit, right?
We're very nice, but we're also degenerate dicks.
That's short and sweet.
All right, good enough. All right, boys, let's get into it. Ant-Man, he's kind of he's reeling a little bit here. We need a Tyler hero to get. Oh, so let me ask you that. So Murray was the last part of the hero play. Is that right, Anthony?
Yeah.
So even if we got hero, we would have been screwed, right? Oh my God, yeah.
Even if we had hero for 25 plus points, Murray He got 2 threes in the first 6 minutes of the damn game and then get another one. He only had one more shot attempt in the entire game, and he did nothing.
How's that even possible? How do you not shoot the ball more than once?
Can you imagine if we actually hit that hero and then we're actually just like, imagine like us staying up even past midnight just to watch that, just to have our hearts broken.
Oh my God. Yeah, I'm glad we actually that there's a difference in losing, people. When you lose, it's better to lose early, okay? Instead of losing on the very last second of some stuff. I talked about on the soccer paycheck, Dave, how you watched my meltdown on the Atlanta Hawks on Monday.
Yeah, you were not pleased with that at all. I experienced that firsthand, so I can vouch there. Yes, you were not in the greatest mood, that is for sure.
Free throw malfunctions galore there.
Just
late.
the one.
Hey,
I feel your pain, though. I definitely understand why you were not in a good mood.
So the story there was this. We had whatever the first part of the parlay hit. I think it was Celtics over against the Hornets with their team total. And then I needed the Toronto Raptors to get over their team total, which they've been on fire now. Ever since then, Dave, they've been crushing their total. So they're not getting there, but they have what I will call a miraculous tie at the end. Somehow this game ends up being a tie and goes to overtime. Just kind of back and forth. The teams are missing free throws, lead changes. And then I forget who the player was who it might have been RJ Barrett for the Knicks, who slammed it home with like 0.2 seconds left as he drove the lane to force overtime. So our Raptors play got there. And then all we needed was the Hawks. Over 121.5 points. They had 70 points at halftime. Literally just need 52 points in the second half. And they get 51. Moral of that story. So, yeah, all that emotion, especially when Toronto came back. When Toronto does that, that's a bet you're supposed to win at that point. No, not the case. Okay, boys. This is a good menu here today. This has the chance to be a bookie slaughter fest if all this chalk goes through. We'll go ahead and get your take here. Grande, he liked all the chalk for the most part. We're going to need to find some good props here. Here we go. The Chiefs game, that's the first one on deck. That's just a few hours away now as we near kickoff here in Kansas City later this afternoon. 9.5 is the favorite number for the Chiefs. That is up a point overnight. 52.5 is the over-under. I like the Chiefs. I'm just afraid of the Chiefs and the Eagles because everyone else in the universe likes the Chiefs and the Eagles today. That's why it could be the bookie slaughter machine. I mean, I guess I'm not going to be concerned with that. I'm going to be kicking myself if this is a 3-point game for Kansas City. Now, weather looks like it's going to be an issue here as well. And that could be from the get-go. So does that slow this game down in terms of an over-under, 52.5? Maybe, but I think Patrick Mahomes is going to be fine in this weather. I'm not so sure Lawrence is himself. I think the Chiefs win this game. I'm going to say it's going to be something like a 34-10 football game, something like that. It's not going to quite get over the total. It's going to go under, and the Chiefs are going to win in somewhat dominating fashion. And I'm just going to kind of leave it at that. If I'm going to look for any kind of prop myself, man, Del Grande makes a good argument to stick to the bread and butter. And I think Anthony's going to have the same argument. I mean, Kelsey at 2 touchdowns at plus 380 looks like a good option for sure. I don't know. Tell me if I'm reading this game right or wrong, Dave. What do you think?
Yeah, Steve. Initially, I gave this game quite a bit of thought throughout the week. I liked the over all week. And I agree with you, Steve. I don't think it's going to be exactly close. I think the Chiefs kind of run with this one. But if the Chiefs don't make it all the way or they fail, it's going to be their defense that does it for them.
Right.
Their defense is just not great, so that leads me to believe, put the weather aside, I feel like the Jags can at least get some. I think they get more than 10. I was thinking maybe 34 to, I was going to be gracious a little bit, maybe give them 17 points. That's how, much I don't trust that Kansas City defense. We've kind of seen it all year.
Yeah. There's no reason to change that because nothing that happened last week was a change from what happened in the regular season.
Exactly.
For any of these teams.
And I gave I was a Jags backer last week. I gave them a chance, and they came through. So while I don't, like I said again, I don't think they win. I've taken some things out of this. I had Travis Kelce for 2. That's my biggest concern in this game. And when I say concern, it's just the thing that I hope happens. I'm not actually concerned with him getting 2 because he probably could get 2 today.
Or you could get 3 today, to be honest.
Yeah. So I have that, and I believe I have also a Trevor Lawrence passing touchdown. Like I say every week, I don't think that's too much to ask for. I really don't. So that's what I'm taking out of this game, Steve. That's how I'm going to lean with it. I still kind of like the over, but as the game draws and the more that I talk to you and some other people, we all talk sports. I'm kind of backing away from that and going in a different direction. Going to worry more about props here. Like I said, player props mostly, and you can certainly, I think, do those scoring props that I like here. Maybe take the field goal aspect of it away and just each team for a touchdown in each half. I think that's absolutely achievable too.
What's that paying?
Let's check it out real quick.
Yep, go ahead and pull that up.
So that's in game props. That should be at a plus number. It usually is.
Del Grande made a good argument for Pat Mahomes over 2.5 touchdown passes. I like that.
Yeah, that's.
I can see him with 3 touchdown passes. I feel like the Chiefs, when they get touchdowns, they pass the ball a lot more than they run it.
Right.
I've only been suckered into an Isaiah Pacheco prop once, but now they have a bunch of running backs back there, and I think even Clyde Edwards-Helaire may be back as well. We'll ask an Ant-Man that too here in a second. But what do you got? What's your number, Dave?
It's minus 115, so it's not at the plus number.
Oh, wow.
I usually find it.
That's kind of weird.
It is. So
that's the first time I've actually heard that at a minus number.
Me too. That's why I'm actually really surprised. So if you wanted to juice that up and kind of take a gamble, I think this is a bit of a shot, but each team for 2 touchdowns in each half is 11-1. I don't know that I'm in love with that, but if you really wanted to take a stab with the touchdown prop, I would probably just keep
at
it
that point. You
minus
just take a
number.
super over, I think.
Yeah,
to be honest,
exactly.
and that way, if you get some field goals in there, then or touchdowns in different halves, you don't get screwed.
Right. So, Steve, with this game, I'm just going to keep it simple and look for the players that I need.
Okay, Ant-Man, give us a good angle here. You're gonna have some kind that now. The Ant-Man was on fire before he cashed out at the right time last week. He had Cook for the Bills for a touchdown, and then he had the Giants wide receiver. I can't think of his name right now. Whatever that guy's name is, but he had him, and I don't even think I've heard of this guy before the playoffs, to be honest. So Ant-Man, go ahead and give us a couple good angles. What do you got?
His name is Isaiah Hodgins.
Yes, Hodgins. That's right.
All right, so you guys are talking about Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Although he was activated from the IR, he's probably not going to play. They haven't made it official, but Andy Reid pretty much said, let's see, if I'm reading this verbatim, he would probably not be activated before this game against the Jags. So, more than likely, no Clyde Edwards-Helaire for today. So, if any of you guys are working or focusing on any Pacheco or McKinnons, you can have a nice sigh of relief. Now, here's what you guys haven't brought up yet. You guys remember Week 10?
Yes. Yep. Sure do.
Remember what the Chiefs and the Jags did?
The Chiefs were blowing them out. The Jags cut the score kind of closer to the end. Christian Kirk had a very nice day for the Jags.
They all kind of had nice games, frankly. So Lawrence threw for 260, two touchdowns.
Better weather too, though. You got to remember that. And add in the pressure of a playoff atmosphere at Arrowhead. But go ahead.
True. Kirk is the only one. He actually, let's see, 9 catches, 105 yards, 2 touchdowns. But here's what Mahomes did: 4 touchdown passes. Kelsey got one. We knew that. Tony got one. We figured that. Let's see. Can you guys guess who the other 2 scorers were?
So
I'll give you a hint. I'll give you a hint. It wasn't Juju, and don't look it up.
I'm not looking it up. It was probably.
You might guess the one, but I'm guaranteeing you're not going to guess the last, because I don't even know who this guy is.
Mahomes, he didn't scramble one in, did he?
No. He threw for 4 touchdowns.
Oh, he threw.
So Kelsey got one. Tony got one. And like I said,
the third white boy tight end, he was probably one of them, right?
Who's that?
I don't know. I don't know. I get them all mixed up. Like Connors and the Giants, and then like Connor. I mean, we joke about this every week. The third tight end, don't we? I mean,
you know what? I'm actually gonna give that to you because I just looked him up. He is white. Noah Gray.
yeah. Okay. All right.
I don't even know who that guy is.
See,
anyway.
Yeah. I mean, that's what happens. All right. And who else?
So Mahomes threw 4 touchdowns that game.
Yep.
And so let's see. One went to Kelsey, one went to Tony, one went to third string white guy Gray. And guess what? Marquez Valdez Scantling.
Right. Yep. I forget he's even on there sometimes, to be honest.
Trust me.
He does the same disappearing act in Kansas City as he did in Green Bay. If you used to play him on some Green Bay props like I have in the past.
So what's interesting about this game is, we've seen this so many times where Kansas City just punches you right in the mouth, go up 7-0, 14-0. What is it about Jacksonville that they just keep coming back?
They got they're well coached. They have belief in each other in a locker room. I think they have good chemistry. I think the coach gives them hope. And anytime you're playing with house money, you're a dangerous team.
Oh, yeah.
You have nothing to lose at this point. That being said, if the Chargers know how to run the ball, they wouldn't even be here this week.
Right.
Yeah, Doug Peterson even said it, like, we didn't expect to be here. We didn't expect to win the division. We didn't expect to come from 27-0 against the Chargers. Here we are. Game on. So this is going to be I can't wait for this game, really, because Mahomes, Andy Reid, they're going to absolutely fire them. But you know what I'm going to do? And I know we're going to go with the whole best bets and whatever, but guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to wait for Kansas City to be up 14-0, 17-0, 21-0, and then I'm going to slam that live line on Jacksonville.
Hey, that's a good angle, man. Right. I mean, that is a good angle. Why not go for that?
I like it. I like it.
Anthony, you are the live line master, actually, taking some of these bigger lines when they get up there. Live line's a beautiful thing. I think Nephew Dave's learning that a little bit too.
Yep.
As we go, he actually had to draw the Chelsea game earlier this morning on the live line, so that's a good pick by him. And honestly, some of my better wins in the NBA. Once you see how these games start off, kind of get a little bit of a feel. You're like, all right, if this team can just go on a run from here, get a decent lead, you still get a good line, and you talk about the NBA being a game of runs back and forth and stuff. Or is it? This team might go up, but then they might double that score. And once they do that, then it's complete annihilation on your end of winning anyway. What else do you like, Anthony? You like Kirk today, right? Do you like any kind of crazy props?
Well, knowing that Kirk scored, 9 catches, 100, whatever yards. He scored twice last time.
He scored twice against the Chiefs last time. And his matchup.
Kansas City does not
They can't
Kansas
cover the
City does
slot.
not.
They can't cover the slot.
Nope. And that's where Kirk lines up pretty much all the time. I will not be surprised. Look, it could be anyone, honestly. Kirk, Zay Jones, Marvin Jones. I do not mind Evan Ingram, and he has been surging recently.
Yes, Ingram's been on fire. I mentioned that against Bill Grande. Ingram
I
has been.
I know a lot of folks are on the ETN train, and I love him, and he's wonderful, but I just feel like Jacksonville just doesn't know how to use him yet. He's so electric. He's so fast. I just don't think they know how to use him yet. I think this is going to be a big Trevor Lawrence, just throwing the ball, just airing it out. Zay Jones, Kirk, Ingram, everything. Of course, ETN's going to get what he's going to get a few. He'll get a few catches, but they can't establish the run with him, and they're probably going to be down at some point.
Mahomes is the man. You know what? If he is, we say this a lot. You know, you can't call him the next great thing because I mean he kind of already has that great tag to him. He just needs that 1 second Super Bowl, Pat Mahomes and Andy Reid, and then you put them in, you know, greatest of all time categories and stuff like that. You know, that's arguable, but there's a list there. But you get on the list, right? Once you get to your second Super Bowl, and that's what they're looking for. Man, the Jaguars are going to be a really, really good team next year.
Yeah, I think so.
Right. And the favorite to win that division, Tennessee, Tennessee better find a quarterback. The other two teams don't have much hope right now. They can only get better. Let's be honest; they can't get much worse than what they were, the Colts and the Texans. So this looks like this could be the Jaguars' division here. They could put a run together here for a few years. But to beat Kansas City with now Kansas City has flubbed it at home. I mean, they tried to flub it against Cleveland. Man, I won a lot of money on that game with Cleveland against Kansas City that weekend. I won a lot of money, but I would have hit a super jackpot of nearly 6 digits if Cleveland went ahead and won that game outright with Baker Mayfield. And they probably should have. They had that helmet-to-helmet down by the goal line that they never called, or the Browns receiver. What was that? I can't remember who it was.
Do you remember what the Chiefs did against the Bengals in the divisional round last year?
Yeah. They flubbed it there. That was the other example. So the Chiefs can flub it at home. That's for sure.
They were cruising, and then Joe Burrow decided, hey, I'm the next starting quarterback. I'm the next superstar.
Yeah. So is that it? I mean, does Patrick Mahomes put on his Aaron Rodgers shoes, his Brett Favre shoes, like, you know, one and done as far as winning a Super Bowl, and that's it?
I don't think so.
Well,
okay.
I'm not saying Mahomes is going to do that. What I'm saying is does the Chiefs, you know, say, hey, we're going to punch you guys right in the head. We're going to get up, 24, 21, nothing, whatever, and do exactly what happened against the Bengals last year. And remember, I think Joe Burrow was in his second year, right? Last year?
Yeah.
That's when they went to the Super Bowl. Isn't Trevor Lawrence in the second year, and he had a shitty coach last year, and now he has Doug Peterson, the guy who beat Tom Brady with Philadelphia. I'm just throwing out, scenarios. Is it possible that Jacksonville could actually do it?
Yeah. I mean, when you say it like that, Anthony, and I think, hey, man, you're talking to someone who's made a living betting underdogs in some playoff scenarios. Because you can call the favorites and you can pick the dogs off too. I've had a very successful playoff career betting. Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to find reasons to take the Jags, Anthony. You're convincing me. I just can't get it out of my head. It's kind of the same thing I talked about. You have to kind of get your feet wet until you can dive into the whole pool. And the Chiefs have been swimming in the deep end for a minute.
One more thing. Wasn't Kansas City home against Cincinnati last year? Yeah.
Yes.
They were. Oh, are they home against? Yeah, they're in Kansas City. No, they're trinkets to consider.
All right. Man, it could be in the official picks. Let's see if he'll take the Jags on the money line here. But you already said it. You liked it for the big comeback. to make this close anyway. It's going to be a good game, boys. Do you think this? How about this? Do you think the weather elements slow this game down? Could this be a lower scoring game because of the rain or snow that develops? Or do you think that's the speed, the scoring potential can hold its own?
I like the scoring potential. I'm still on it, but the weather does worry me a little bit. So that is something to consider in my mind for sure.
Ant-Man, would that weather concern you here?
So this game starts at what? 4:30, 5-ish, something like that?
4:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
So currently they are, I'm looking at the actual weather report right now, snow starting in 32 minutes. So if I'm looking at this, you might have a few snow flurries, but I'm not really worried about snow. I'm not really worried completely over rain. It's wind that actually affects quarterbacks throwing that football. And if I'm looking at this, wind, there is no wind. So frankly, weather is not an issue.
Okay.
My only concern is, can Jacksonville adapt to the weather conditions? Now, I know Jacksonville isn't Miami because they have not done well ever in any, cold weather environment. But can Jacksonville adapt to any changing climate change? And if I'm looking at this more, the wind is not going up. Good. It's going to be something about, let's see, sleet, rain, snow. It could get ugly later on in the game.
And the conditions don't get better. That is my understanding for sure. They will deteriorate.
As I'm looking at it right now, no.
All right, boys. Better weather in Philly. There's no threat of weather there. Actually, it's going to be even, a little bit warmer than you would think. No wind either. The point spread is 7.5 for the Eagles. Over under 48.5. 8:15 kickoff time. Again, I feel like the whole world's on the Eagles. Now, there is some Giants money coming in, but that might be more of their fan base and stuff like that. And the people who bet the Giants against Minnesota, they're going to ride them again for that factor as well, I think. This is a tough one for me. My dad's a Giants fan too. I want to find all the reasons in the world to take the Giants, but again,
Hey,
yeah.
Before you go on that, you haven't brought up this one stat that Trevor Lawrence has never lost on a Saturday.
Oh my God! If I ever hear that stat again, to be honest, you know how many times I saw that on social media last week? I was like, dude, you gotta be fucking kidding me.
All right, go on to the Giants. We've all heard this. Oh, by the way, Lawrence has not lost. Remember, folks, he played at Clemson. He never lost. Even in high school, he never lost. And he played in college, played on Saturdays, never played on Sundays, blah, blah, blah. Here we go, Trevor Lawrence against the great Patrick Mahomes. All right, go on to the Giants. I just had to throw the little tidbit out.
So, hey, let me ask you that real quick. Do you like, would you play this number, Anthony? Since we need to be talking props. I will rewind real quick. Would you take your boy Trevor Lawrence at 300 plus yards at plus 270 or 325 plus for 490?
If you mix a Zay Jones and a Christian Kirk, can you convince me otherwise? Throw that in just to make me happy.
Let me delete what I got here. I have my super defensive parlay ticket, kind of as an example. So we'll throw in Lawrence for 300 yards, and then as far as what do you want? You want touchdown or you want receiving yards?
Give me a Kirk and a Zay Jones touchdown. Let's see what that happens. Yeah, let's see what happens with that.
All right. Anytime touchdown for Kirk and Zay Jones. So this ticket, $10, wins you $210. On Lawrence, 300 plus yards passing. Christian Kirk for 1. Zay Jones for 1. So 21-1 odds.
Interesting.
That's interesting.
Very interesting.
You know what? If you wanted to put 100 on it instead of just putting 100 on Jacksonville, because they could get this in garbage time alone, 100 wins you 2,100 on that play.
And if you're really on Jacksonville's money line, hey Steve, throw in the money line. What does that go? It goes from 21-1 to what?
Oh yeah, let's see here. As I deleted everything, I'm almost there. Stand by. Trevor Lawrence alternate passing yards plus 490 if he gets to 325. Okay, so this you now get 58-1 odds. So $10 wins you 583, 75 cents. $583.75. That is Jacksonville money line. Christian Kirk, anytime touchdown. Zay Jones, anytime touchdown. Trevor Lawrence, 300+ yards passing. See, this is
for anyone who actually thinks that Jacksonville, just like I said, you think that they're going to get hit right in the mouth, or if they
if they win this game, this is what's going to happen, right? Yeah, something like this. So you take it like
that's
this.
the only way the game's going to happen. What's Travis? I know we have to get the Giants game, but just what's Travis Etienne's rushing over under?
Rushing props for Travis Etienne is 69.5 yards.
Nice.
You like that over?
No, I just said nice because you said 69.
Oh. I don't know if that's that number because that's burned me before in the past. But you could convince me maybe for Travis Etienne receiving yards at over 18.5.
I'd rather gamble on that than that, I'd rather gamble on the receiving than the rushing.
It's just one catch.
Right?
It's just one catch. So $10 wins you 910 if you go that route.
Well, look, if Jacksonville's going to win this game, it's going to be Trevor Lawrence, Zay Jones, Christian Kirk, and that's the only way that they're going to pull this off.
Oh man, a lot to think about. My mind's going a million different directions. Okay, Eagles and the Chiefs. 7.5 for the Eagles over the Giants, not the Chiefs. Eagles and the Giants, 7.5. Over under is 48.5. I don't know, Nephew Dave, let me talk to you first. You're the NFC East expert. Here we have 3 NFC East teams here in the Final Four. Your team's the one team who's not. But it is Philly and the Giants part Trey. 3 times now. 3rd time this game will happen. What are you going to see here?
Well, Steve, looking at this game, my first thought is divisional game. Both of these teams are playing, we know what the Eagles have done all year. 3 losses by them, not super concerning to me. I like the spread here. I think that's certainly in play. There's a couple other things that I want to throw out there. I don't think I mess with the over-under at all. 48, we could see it, but the Eagles' defense is what worries me about that, enough to kind of keep me away from it. But with that being said, Steve, what did I took some plays out of this already, and the one that is going to be probably the best play that you could probably take from this game, in my opinion, is going to be I took Boston Scott for 1 touchdown. Steve, within his last, I think it's 6 or 7 games against the Giants, he's scored in every single one of them.
Wow.
And why, now it's the playoffs, so why would that not continue?
He seems to sneak it into and ruin your day as a prop player when you don't take him. That's for sure.
Right, and it's plus 380 for a Boston Scott touchdown. I'm pretty in love with that at this point. The more I think about it, I think the Eagles, we'll see what they do to try and establish the run a little bit. But there was another play that was an even money. It was Jalen Hurts for 2, passing touchdowns. And I know the Giants are, they are where they are. They beat Minnesota, but let's be honest. It's primetime Kirk Cousins. We've said it all year. I mean, look at all around, Facebook or any kind of social media. They're ripping Kirk Cousins apart for throwing a 3-yard pass when you need 8 yards or it ends your season. That's what you get out of Kirk Cousins. All right. Yeah, he might set records or he might throw the ball, for how many ever yards, but he is who he is at the end of the day. I'm not afraid to say that. He does all this stuff, then come crunch time, he ends your season with a little 3-yard pass. If I was a fan of Minnesota, man, I would be very upset with that. So while the Giants did win that game and they played well, you know what you're going to get. Yeah, the Minnesota defense has been playing better, but I don't think it's been great all year. So it was a good win from them, but primetime Kirk Cousins, he certainly helped them out. And now they have, in my mind, a much more difficult test ahead of them. I think, Steve, the Eagles come away with this. Jalen for 2 passing touchdowns, I think, is on the board. I think a spread play is on the board as, it's a divisional game, playoff game on top of that. I think this game stays rather close. And then that sneaky Boston Scott touchdown that I'm absolutely in love with. Steve, I think that's probably the best takeaways from this.
Jalen Hurts over 1.5. I have at -142. I could see that, him passing for 2 touchdowns.
I have an odds boost over on mine for that.
Oh, okay. Nice. Man, I could go a million different directions. Anthony, give me something to work with here.
Oh, and I have Saquon also as well.
Oh, you like to score a touchdown?
Yep.
Okay. Nice. What do you got, Anthony?
Let's see. If we are looking at the last time they actually played a meaningful game, not necessarily looking at what happened in Week 18, let's go back to Week 14. Eagles 48, Giants 22. Let's see what Hurts did to them. It was actually the Miles Sanders game. 144 yards, 2 touchdowns. A.J. Brown got one. Devontae Smith got one. Who the heck got a touchdown for the Giants? Didn't they get a random defensive touchdown, I think?
Can't recall. We're talking about the blowout game, right? Or is this the last game?
No, not the last game.
The blowout game, yeah. It was
if anyone's looking at if anyone's trying to do any props from Week 18, just erase it. At least look at Week 15. Danny Dimes rushed it in for 1, and Richie James and Isaiah Hodgins. Oh, yeah, that guy. They all scored. But at the end of the day, the Eagles still won 48-22. So what I'm intrigued on with this game is how healthy is Jalen Hurts?
Right, that's the question mark.
That's the big one because he was technically taken off the injury report. I think he had they said an AC joint sprain in the shoulder.
Right.
As long as he can make his throws, as long as he can run, if they can spread the field out, hit Goddard in the middle, hit Devontae on the big one. Same thing with A.J. Brown. The Eagles should cruise. However, it's still the Giants, and they do have Brian Dable. And the last time I think the Giants won a wild card game, we go back, 12 years? I think they beat the Patriots. And if we go back even 4 years prior to that, the last time the Giants won a wild card game, hey, they beat the Patriots then too. Remember that, Steve?
Oh, yeah.
So it's pretty much all or nothing. The last time the Giants actually have won a wild card game, I think dating back to, I want to say 2001, I could be wrong. If they didn't win the wild card game, well, they're out. But if they won the wild card game, they won the Super Bowl. You go at two different angles. Do you guys think that Danny Dimes is the real deal with Brian Dable? Hey, maybe Tom Coughlin's actually in the booth secretly.
Right.
Right. Maybe Eli Manning's sitting right next to him, and David Tyree's like, do it.
Same coaching tree, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
They both
Gotta give it
fall
up to
from the
Coughlin.
Parcells coaching tree at the end of the day.
So, I really do think Philly's going to win this game. I think they're going to win, and I don't know if it's going to be in convincing fashion. I think the Giants are going to give everything they have, but you got to remember the two best games that the Giants have played this year, regular season and postseason, have both came against the Vikings, and they beat a team in which their entire season was on the line. I think it was, 4th and 9? And what did Kirk Cousins do? He threw a little slant route to T.J. Hawkinson for 3 yards.
Yeah, terrible.
Hey, at least he caught it. Hip hooray for my fantasy team. The Giants are good. They really are. I just think Philly's better.
I see. This is a game of teams that I just haven't bet on. I haven't taken many Philly games, and I haven't taken many Giant games. Mainly because Philly got off to a roll, and just held it. That's not a team. I mean, if you're smart, you jump on them, right? But at some point, that train's going to derail, and I just never wanted to get off when that train wrecked. And then when Hurts goes down, I mean, by far it's way too late. I think I took them in the Cowboys game at Dallas where they lost with Minshew. All right, thinking the Minshew game to tribute his former coach who passed away. God, why am I not remembering his name? Mike, what's his name? God, I'm so bad at this today. The Mississippi Leach.
Yeah, Mike
his
Leach.
old coach Leach. So, man, I don't know. I'm just gonna have to find a prop here or two to go with that. I'm gonna listen just to what y'all say, to be honest. What's your sneakiest prop here? All right, Bill Grande loves Smith over receiving yards. He thinks he can crush that prop. Dave, you like Hurts over 1.5 touchdowns. I like that. What would be your best play? Goddard might be a good touchdown for any time scorer today, to be honest. I feel like he's kind of due. Anthony, give me one big prop you would take here.
Well, I actually like what Dave said about Boston Scott.
Oh, yeah.
For some stupid, remember, Miles Sanders is he's the starting running back, and he demolished them in Week 14. Why is it that Boston Scott is going to freak his stupid head into that end zone tonight? Because guess what? I'm putting my money on him.
Because he spoils it, yeah.
I don't know why, but hey, by the way, hey Dave, I know you're listening. Guess what? Watch Kenneth Gainwell score, and we're gonna be pissed off. Watch number 14 get right in the end zone. We're like, who the hell's that? And they see Kenneth Gainwell.
Oh God! Now that you say it, it's gonna happen. Oh Lord! I'm setting up for that heartbreak already.
No, I already know it's gonna happen. Boston Scott should score. Miles Sanders should do some work, but it's going to be the Jalen Hurts show. Pending he's healthy. If he's actually healthy, they're going to throttle them. The Giants are, like I already said, the Giants are a good team. The Eagles are a great team. And the fact that they have that 1-2 punch with A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, and now that Dallas Goedert's finally rested, he's healthy. He just came off the IR, 5-6 weeks ago?
Yep.
So, it's the Giants. Who ever bet the Giants to do what they did in 2007, 2011? No one.
They made the right. Yeah, you're right. Unless you were a believer in the team.
But if they're going to do anything, Saquon Barkley's healthy. You saw what he did against Minnesota. If they can actually ride the hot hand with, Barkley, if Danny Dimes can throw it to Isaiah Hodgins, Richie James. Hell, Kenny Galladay, remember. Kenny Galladay's still on that team. Daniel Bellinger, he just came off the IR. There's so many players that they can utilize to actually make this work. Who's the Eagles coach?
Sirianni.
The only way that the Giants are going to win this game is if Daboll outcoaches Sirianni. And can they figure it out? Because guess what? If you watch Kirk Cousins get sacked so many times on prime time, like he always does, what else is new? The Giants D-line. Rushing 4, sacking the quarterback, getting pressure. Can they figure out how to stop Hurts? Because, like I said, as long as he's healthy, it's game over. But if they can contain him, Giants can pull this off. They really could. I don't think it will. I really don't think it'll happen, but I'm excited for this.
Good games. Yeah, I love the playoffs. Okay, I'm going to work on this ticket. I'm going to keep it going. I'm going to find one of each game. And I'm looking for plus odds here at a good plus price. So the first game, I'm going to take Christian Kirk 100 yards plus 350. And in this game, I'm going to take Devontae Smith 110 yards plus 520. Tell me if I'm stupid at any point as we move forward. Let's go to the next game. I don't know. Any last take on that one? Philly Giants? I don't know what to say, guys. I'm going to be rooting for the Giants. Probably not with my wallet. I'm just going to find some fun props on both sides to try to go with here. Okay, Bengals and Bills, Sunday, 3 o'clock. I think this is a higher scoring game just because that's the way this was kind of heading in the Monday night game before the Hamlin thing happened. Though Grande thinks this is the heavyweights where this actually could be more of a slugfest. And, both teams are actually prone to, long drive and then, the injured lineman situation, rears its ugly head. So Burrow gets sacked and that the drive stalls, right? Or Josh Allen, long drive. And there you go. I'll throw it right to the D lineman of the Bengals because, that's what I do. I do throw stupid balls at times. 5.5 points is a lot of points, I feel like, for the Bengals to kind of get here too. But I don't know. I could see the Bills winning by 7. I could even see them winning by 14 if the O-line does fold. But I think 48.5 is just too low. I know it's going to be bad weather in the forecast, but that's not going to show up until halftime or the second half. No wins either. And I don't think that affects either team. If you watched Burrow play at New England in that real cold weekend that we had, he was the one quarterback throwing it all over the ballpark. Besides Sam Darnold, it is. But I think that was more of a rushing attack for Carolina when they killed Detroit that weekend. But the Burrow had no problems, at least in the first half, till the Pats made some adjustments there and eventually caught up to him and almost won. But this is the rematch. I don't know. I feel like the Bengals still have that chip on their shoulder. And Buffalo, I don't know if it's the O coordinator change and Daboll leaving, and now Dorsey is the O coordinator, but the Bills just seem to stumble. They're just a little sloppy in their winning ways, and at some point, is that going to catch up to them? The Bengals are the kind of team to do that to them. I'm going to just look for a fun this has all the players of the props where if you want to do a same game parlay, you can go with Jamar Chase, right? You can go with Diggs, throw in a Dawson Knox here, throw in a Hayden Hurst there. And next thing you know, this game's flying over the total. I'm going to look for a higher scoring game. Anthony, I'll start with you first. Is this a green light for all the props in your mind? Or could you see this turning into a little bit of a defense? They have decent defenses, these two teams. Could this be more of a defense of, we're not going to get quite to 48.5 points, buyer beware? What do you think?
You got to remember, this is the unfinished game from Week 17.
Yep. I think we said that, right?
Right.
And although it was played in Cincinnati when unfortunately it happened, guess what? Here they are again. Now they're in Buffalo. I'm hearing rumors that he's going to be in the game. That's what's his name? Hamlin.
Yep.
I'm hearing trinkets on Twitter that he will be at the game, but I'm not sure. But whether he shows up or not, there's still unfinished business here, because Buffalo, if you remember this, Kansas City had the bye week. If Buffalo beat Cincinnati and then beat New England Week 18, they'd have the number 1 seed. So in reality, Buffalo's not done yet. And that's why this line is jumping. I think Buffalo is going to just, I'm not going to say demolish, but they're going to come out hot. But here's the thing. Look what Cincinnati did last year. Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, Mixon. Hayden Hurst is healthy. They even have some goofball white receiver named Irwin. I don't even know who the hell that is. He even has a stupid number, 16. Who the hell wears that? Guess what? I think this game's going to be a shootout. Weather's fine. These are both cold weather teams. They are going to punch each other right in the head. And I can't wait to see it.
Okay. I'm going to get to you in a second, Dave. The one thing I'm going to look at here, because I think there's a lot of receiving yards in this game overall. So where am I going to get a good value with all these different receivers here? I'm going to take a shot at Dawson Knox at 70-plus yards at a plus 470. Is that too many yards for Dawson Knox to get, Anthony?
How much?
At 70-plus yards is plus 470. Now, if I parlay that to Devontae Smith at 110 yards plus, and Christian Kirk at 100 yards plus,
I'd rather you just do Knox for a touchdown instead of the 70 yards.
I think a touchdown is in play. I think 2 touchdowns is in play, but I don't think I get the high scoring juice I want out of that. Let me see. Let's see what we got. Anytime touchdown score for Dawson Knox. Maybe he's going to pay good enough. Plus 195. I guess that's good. I'd like to get to plus 300 or better. But I can see what you're saying here. I think that's a reliable thing, is for Dawson Knox to get a touchdown at plus 195. But with so much talent, we've seen him catching more in the intermediate route lately too. And I think that's
we have,
Diggs
but
is getting double teamed. You got Gabriel out there too, right?
True. I'm just worried about 70 yards for
That's
now.
a lot. But if he breaks just one tackle, there you go, right? Literally
a lot of it.
Oh, 100%.
That's what I think of these literally these are 2 passes. You know, he catches one for 13, 14, and then the other one he's running 50 yards downfield because they missed the tackle. 20 to the other 30 or something crazy like that, right?
My only thought, if you are going to add an additional touchdown score in that game, throw in T. Higgins. Because remember, when that injury happened in Week 17, guess who did it? Higgins.
How about this? Okay. Yeah, you're right. Go ahead. Keep going, Anthony.
So if you're actually throwing out, in a weird revenge game, it's not like an actual revenge game, but guess what? Higgins is the one who hit him. He didn't do it. He didn't mean to. He's actually the one who got hit. But guess what? Higgins is going out. And I'm totally into this. I'm all on Higgins to score a touchdown. And frankly, if you want to throw in 70 yards, be my guest.
Plus 102 for 70 yards for T. Higgins How about this? Would you take a shot at Cole Beasley at 5-1 for anytime touchdown?
I have not gotten word if Isaiah McKenzie is going to be active or not, and here's why. Because Isaiah McKenzie is their slot receiver. Remember, Stephon got the number 1, Gabe Davis got the number 2, but McKenzie didn't play last week.
Right. Okay.
That's why Cole Beasley, and then who the hell? There's some other guy. What the hell is his name? Rattle off some Buffalo receivers.
Let's see here.
It should be the first one. He's actually been really good. He has a weird first name.
It's not on this list. Let me go to the anytime touchdowns. They'll give me the better list of players here.
I'm looking it up too.
Khalil Shakir.
That guy, yeah, Shakir.
He's 6-1.
He's actually
touchdown.
He's a speedster.
Yeah.
And Allen actually had him for about a 50-yard gain. Unfortunately, he dropped it barely.
Right.
But
same as John Brown, 10-1 odds for him for a touchdown.
John Smokey Brown. Steve, tell me when did you find out he played for the Bills? Because I found out about 2 weeks ago.
he was on there last year, but he got hurt, right? Or even 2 years ago, I think.
He's always hurt.
He left for Baltimore. I think when they played the bubble games, John Brown was on that team. I do remember.
Another reason why they signed Cole Beasley. One, he knows the playbook, and he can just squeeze right into that slot receiver. That's why I'm intrigued on this Isaiah McKenzie crap. They haven't rolled him in or out yet.
Okay, we'll have to keep an eye on that.
In the right direction, but I'm not sure.
How about this? There's a line on Jamison Crowder. He's back. The old commander.
How many more receivers does Buffalo need?
Yeah. I mean, they have 10 receivers. Isaiah McKenzie is listed right now at plus 210. He is on the odds board. Not that, I mean, they could void him out, right? But they are giving him as a option right now.
I didn't know Isaiah. I didn't realize he was still there. That's funny.
Yeah, it's crazy. This has same game parlay feel all over it. It just does. You could do any number of these receivers. You can even mix in a 2-touchdowner here or there too, I think. Man, give me a correct score, Dave. What do you got? What do you got on this game, Dave? We haven't even asked you, have we?
No.
Yeah. Let's get to it.
All right, Steve. So the correct score, let's see here. Maybe a 28-24, something maybe a little obscure if we're going a higher scoring game. Maybe not quite the 30s because they, like you said, they do have decent defenses. We had 28-24. I mean, that's different. That's just kind of throwing a number out, but I don't, it's not out of the realm of possibility, I don't think. But Steve, as far as, like you two covered it pretty well. I only have really 2 angles that I want to add to it. And one is, yes, I know the concerns with the offensive line from Cincinnati. But that is a good football team over there in my eyes. So, Steve, straight up money line, Cincinnati Bengals plus 200. That would be a play of mine. And I probably won't do this, until later this evening or possibly even in the morning. But here's another angle. Both teams to score 1+ rushing touchdown at plus 200. I like that bet as well that I found. So, I mean, you're asking for a Mixon and a Singletary, which at the end of the day really shouldn't be a lot to ask for. I know, we're thinking this game is going to be played probably more through the air. But down, in the red zone, around the goal line, give it to Mixon, give it to Singletary. We've seen what they can do all year. So both teams for a rushing touchdown for plus 200. That number, while it's not super high, it's still at the 200 level. And for me, I like that kind of play.
Dave being and are going to be a little bit bitter. Our time touchdown play that we had, where Joe Mixon was the only guy who did not score for us last week in the Ravens game. We even had the Bengals defense.
Wow.
Let's see here. Any other props there, Dave, you like? Anything else crazy?
No, like I said, I think you guys pretty much got it. I really like the same game angle, and so that would probably be the best way I think to attack this game. But other than that, I probably will play the money line. I would like to see him win that game.
I think this is 34-31 Buffalo. That's going to be the correct score I'll go with. And if we're going to play the correct score game real quick, we'll do it all. What did you say, Dave? What's yours?
28-24.
So Bengals, right?
Bengals.
That pays 340 to 1 odds. So $1 to win 340. Dave, you have to throw your $1 on that.
Yeah, no kidding.
And then if I like 34-31 Bengals over the Bills, then I'm only getting 110 to 1 odds. So Dave's getting a much better play than me. Anthony, what do you got for a final score for this game?
I think it's going to be a shootout. What I do. Oh, by the way, Dave, it's not just Singletary that can get that rushing touchdown. James Cook has been acclimated into that offense. Huge.
Yeah,
right. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, either of them would work for me.
And remember, Josh Allen could rush it in just as much as Joe Burrow frankly can. Obviously, Josh Allen more, but Burrow has not been completely susceptible to rushing that ball.
He's plus 600 anytime touchdown, Joe Burrow.
So you get 3 really good chances at it pretty much on the Buffalo side. So
on Buffalo side, yes. And then even on Cincinnati, obviously we have Mixon and Burrow, but they've been mixing, no pun intended, they have been mixing in Samaje Perine, who oddly enough was Joe Mixon's teammate in Oklahoma. Fun stat.
Plus 410 for Perine for a touchdown.
Yeah, they've been mixing him in quite a bit. As far as a final score, Steve, I really like that 34-31 thing. I might actually put 5 on it just for my own amusement. I'll go somewhat different, I guess. I'll do 38-34 just because I don't want to do what you did, but I'm going to bet it anyway.
I want to recommend that for anyone on any level of what I do, to be honest, Anthony. 38-34. This is for the Bills or the Bengals?
Oh, Bills. Oh.
DeMar Hamlin nostalgia. They're going to win the game. I got you.
Yeah, DeMar Hamlin, the fact that if the Chiefs win, if the Bills win, they're going to be playing, at Atlanta, right?
You know what? I hate this. There's no option for 38-34. You got to pick.
You got it, Jake. What that actually happened?
There's a 40-24. They can't do this. Bills 38-31 or Bills Bengals 38-35, and then it goes.
What about Bills 37, Bengals 34?
37-34 is 300-1. Bills 37, Bengals 34, 300-1 odds.
I'll take that, but if it's 38-34, I swear I'm going to punch everyone I know outside of this apartment right in the head.
I'm going. The next time my VIP person messages me, this is going to be my one complaint. I'm never going to give her. Like, dude, you got to offer every score, literally, or at least,
you have to.
or at least bet the field. You know what I'm saying? I mean, they're offering 58-0. You can't give me a 38-34.
Let me see if I can find it for you, Ian. If mine has.
That's a general score. No, it ticked me off with FanDuel because when I said the Steelers would win against the Ravens, weeks ago?
Right. Yeah, they made you change your score, and that was the right one, right?
It was 14-13, 15-13, and then they jumped to 17-13. I'm like, no, I want it to be 16-13. Of course, that's the one that hit.
That's a bad beat.
So
the worst beat is when you never have a chance, and that's the case.
Especially when you.
So what do? They just sweep the pot of everything. I mean, and they have 22-17 offered. I see 22-20 offered. I see 22-16 offered. And here you go.
It's not going to be 22-20 though.
There's a 16. There's actually 16-13 offered on this game.
It's not going to be 16-13 in this game.
No, it's not. Okay, boys. I want to take one break before we do this last game because I need a break. And we'll be back right after this. It's the Pie Tasters music. Our hot buttons are slow to cue here at times. And man, I'm going to need to get you in here to the studio. You're going to have to fix this for me, all right? My toolbar is disappearing at the top, and I need to push to the top to get it to reappear. I'm sure I can figure that out, but I don't want to ruin this broadcast as I try to figure it out. So if we can do this during the break, that would be great. All right, we'll do a break. We got a little Pie Tasters music going on, and we'll be back right after this. Dependable solution can provide all voice-over servicing for your advanced audio production needs. Think of us as an inexpensive option, no matter what the size of the project is. From one-word cameos to full-script productions, contact Dependable Solutions at 757-354-5517.
Know your gambling limit. Don't ever bet what you can't cover. Wagering on sports is only fun when you do it the right way. Not every bet will win. When you get on a bad run, know it and avoid trouble. Know your gambling limits.
Family owned and operated, CP Shuckers Cafe and Raw Bar specializes in delicious cuisine, refreshing drinks, and a laid-back atmosphere. We opened our doors in 1995 and have enjoyed being a place to either relax or celebrate ever since. Whether you are in the mood to indulge in a great meal with your friends and family or watch the game, we promise that our inventive menu, attentive service, and skilled bartenders will have you truly satisfied. Both of our locations have spacious outdoor patios for enjoying the breeze and catching a little sun. Our friendly staff at CP Shuckers will make your next dining experience a pleasant one by delivering personal care. We are open until 2 a.m. Full menu will be served until 10 p.m. and late night limited menu until 1 a.m. For larger parties, please give the location of choice a call. Pacific Avenue, 757-425-8676 or Shore Drive, 757-412-2929. More information at cpshuckers.com. Thank you for your continued support and have a shucking good time.
Control your alcohol. Don't fight. Don't drink and drive. Your one punch could kill someone. It happens. You're behind the wheel. You may think you are fine, but then the other driver is under the influence of texting, and then you are done. Control your alcohol.
All right, boys, we have our last game. We'll get on out of here. The Cowboys and the 49ers. Sunday in San Francisco is the last game. 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I want to give the Cowboys a shot. They just look good on Monday night, but I can't call anything. And I do like the 49ers. They've had a nice team. If there's been a show that has been pro 49er the whole way, maybe that's part of our West Coast influence as well, then it's been this show for sure. They've gotten plenty of run on here. The Cowboys, Nephew Dave, they are in your wheelhouse. So when we go back to the third NFC East team, I need to get your opinion here of Dallas and their chances to win this game because you are our NFC East expert. What do you got?
Yeah, Steve. So they're a good football team. Don't get me wrong. Sure, they looked they looked fantastic on Monday night, didn't they? But who did they play? I mean, really, the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers. The only reason they were there is because they won probably the worst division in football this year. Just awful. That team did not deserve to be there at all. So to say, Dallas did something, spectacular is a bit of a stretch for me. When you would expect them to do that to that team. Like I said, I talked to quite a few Dallas fans, and they were actually a little worried going into that game. Now, I understand, it's the playoffs. All you got to do is make it, and you never know what can happen. We've seen crazier things before. But I just did not see any reason for any Cowboys fan to be worried about that particular game because I feel the Buccaneers were just that bad. So they have a much, much different test ahead of them this week. This is not going to be at all the same game they played last week. And I'm not saying they can't get it done. It's the Cowboys. Obviously, I have my opinions of them. But to be unbiased and to, bring something fair here, they are a good team. I think that they do have a shot to win this game. I think it should be, that spread is probably appropriate. I think it's probably a touchdown game, no more than 10 points, but I don't even really feel good about that. So, like I said, the spread is probably where it should be. I think the Niners win by a field goal or so. But, I mean, Dallas, the defense is probably what would get it done for them. I know they have offensive weapons. Prescott, he's all right. I mean, I don't take anything away from the game he played against the Buccaneers because, they're just – that defense is not very good. Offense was, middle of the pack this year. So while he is a good quarterback, San Francisco defense is not at all anything like the Buccaneers defense. It is much better. So he's got CD and he's got Tony Pollard. You're looking probably for Zeke. He's going to be red zone kind of goal line back. I would expect that role for him. But the weak link for the 49ers is going to be the quarterback, obviously, because he's the rookie. But I'm not too worried about that. He's played pretty lights out. So I'm thinking the 49ers by 3, Steve. Yes, Dallas does have a chance. But at the end of the day, I think San Fran is just a little bit better of a team.
Ant-Man, what do you got?
Dave, I just heard you crying and crying and crying about, oh my God, my Washington football's lost. They're the only team in the NFC East that didn't make it. Shut up.
Did the Packers make it?
No, they
think they had a chance, but
no, they had a major chance and they suck. That's what they did. And I wish you would have.
So are we.
Dave, I actually wish you were here to just watch me. Steve sat on one side of the couch. I sat on the other side of the couch. We just kept taking shots. Even my girlfriend came and was like, "Can I give you guys any food?" And I looked. We both looked at her, and she goes, "I'll just bring it to you guys later." Like, that's not dinner. No, it was just miserable. We'll get to Green Bay at another time. Damn it, Rogers. We just make a stupid decision. Idiot. Anyway.
No, my footballs, they did what they always do, though. So, yes, you do have a lot of room there to give me some shit about that.
Hey, Steve. Hey, Dave. When in doubt, your football's football.
You know what? I cannot even argue a little bit with you there.
I appreciate the Packers, Jeff. I do appreciate that. Man, that's all my stupid. Oh, by the way, I'm really ticked off about the fact that the Seahawks actually made the playoffs. Detroit actually deserved to make it to the playoffs. They really did.
I think they probably, I probably have to agree with you also.
They probably would have got smashed by, San Fran, but they ran the hook and ladder against Green Bay in the third quarter. I'm like, you've got to be joking. The second I saw that hook and ladder run, I'm like, yep, we're done.
That was awesome, that play, too.
Yeah, they pulled the Boise State in the Fiesta Bowl, if you guys remember that, about 10 years ago or however long it was. Anyway, on to this game, though. I get everything you just said, David. My only concern with this game, I don't know if you said 10 points or not. That line is at 3.5.
Yeah, I said a max 10-point win, but I don't even really feel good about that.
I'm debating on this because the weird part about this game is the line hasn't changed. It's been 3.5. It was 3.5 Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, up until now. I don't think anyone knows what's going to happen, frankly. This is the one game I have no angle on.
And it should be pretty good, too, I think.
I think it will be. Now, granted,
they've had classic playoff games against each other. Absolute classics of playoff games. These two over the years, 90s, 80s.
Why stop now?
Last time out last year.
and now you shift it to Dak, the 4th-round draft pick, to Mr. Irrelevant, Brock Purdy. And you saw what Dallas did against Tampa. I know Tampa's a good team, but not when they played last week. They stunk. You guys watched it. They literally stunk. Dak owned them. Now comes San Francisco. Can they actually push this defensive line and all of their defensive weapons and actually demolish Dak? Possible. I think this game is going to come down to, can Dallas's offense overpower San Francisco's defense? And here's why I bring this up. Brock Purdy, he's been fantastic, right? Do you guys remember what great team has he beaten since he's
no one? Yeah, he's played literally the worst teams in football.
Right.
I mean, as far as a defensive standard goes, and their secondaries and their ability to give up passing yards, yes.
Week 13 at home, Miami. Week 14 at home against Tampa. Week 15 at Seattle. Seattle's really not that good.
Road game Thursday night, short week. Remember all that too.
Mm-hmm. Christmas Eve against the Redskins. Or, never mind. Sorry, Dave. The footballs. Week 17 against the Raiders. And then week 18 against the Cardinals, who they were playing no one. And then they played Seattle in that wild card game. I'm just throwing out the fact that Brock Purdy may or may not have played anyone that's actually good, which is why a lot of people are intrigued on this game, and why a lot of people are betting Dallas, and why that line hasn't changed. We've seen that Buffalo-Cincinnati game go up and down, the Chiefs game up and down, up and down. Why hasn't this Niners game, why hasn't it changed?
Anthony,
you know why? Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh. That's because they know they might be screwed because Dallas is going to beat San Francisco in Candlestick. Oh, my fault. Levi Stadium. I still call it Candlestick. They're going to beat San Francisco. And you know how they're going to beat San Francisco? A game-winning field goal from Brett. I can't kick an extra point, Maher, to seal the deal. You heard it here first.
Anthony, I'm going to throw this little trinket out for you. Did you know that Brock Purdy has never lost on a Sunday?
Well, Trevor Lawrence hasn't lost on a Saturday, so we'll see how this goes.
Okay, boys. I think I'm going to take the most reliable bet I think I see on the board here. And that's going to be Christian McCaffrey for 2 touchdowns at plus 350. All right. So now here is what I'm combining all of our knowledge together. And I think Dallas has a chance to win this game. But, man, I do like me some 49ers too. I'm going to just kind of back away from picking sides, I think, for the most part, and see how it plays out and just try to take advantage of the props. I think that's going to be my angle. This is going to be my favorite play that I'm going to post. So we talked about this game. We'll take McCaffrey for 2 touchdowns. We will take, in the game before that, we're going to take a shot with Dawson Knox for 2 touchdowns. That's 12-1 odds. All right. In the game tonight, as we rewind, Devonta Smith, 110 yards at plus 520. And in the first game, Christian Kirk, 110 plus yards at plus 490. I'm going to invest $33 in this bet. If all 4 of these things can happen, the grand total winnings will be $20,102. If you hit 3 of the 4, then your average win will be $2,600. Just 3 of the 4 happen. Knox is going to be the hard one, I think. But there's going to be a lot of scoring, as we say. And he's been catching some touchdowns. And I've had him in the past. Hey, I had him when they played the Chiefs that first time. He had the touchdown right off the bat. And I had 2 touchdowns. I had 80-1 on him at that time because he was just getting paid. That was his kind of breakout season, if you can recall that. And then they had another pass right out into the flats for him. It was just a bad throw. Just kind of a fast, kind of hot, kind of. It was just too low. He couldn't catch it. But he was right there at the pylon for the second, and he never got that second. The first one happened on the first drive, too. He was the first touchdown scored. So this could be the ultimate redemption in my mind if Dawson Knox can get 2 touchdowns against the Bengals. So that's my thought there. I'm just going to trust my instincts on that one. And then let's see. Did I say it all? Yeah. So McCaffrey 2, Knox for 2, Kirk for 110 plus, Devontae Smith for 110 plus. Anthony, do you like that play?
Look at the playoffs. Anything can happen. I'm on board either way.
10-4. All right. Boys, let's get your picks for these games official. What do you got, Dave?
All right, so I'm going to start out here with this one. I have a Travis Kelce 2 or more touchdowns today. That's with Boston Scott for 1. And then that mixed up with a UCLA money line, little college ball there. That's just on that ticket.
All right, nice.
And then what else? I think I went pretty light so far. Yes, and the next one, I have Jalen Hurts anytime, Saquon Barkley anytime, and that is paired with a Trevor Lawrence passing touchdown and Travis Kelce for 1. So I'm going to lean pretty heavily on Kelce this afternoon. So you can guarantee I'll be definitely interested in that game. But so far, Steve, those are my pregame tickets. Might join in live as well. We'll see. But yeah, pretty light so far today.
Anthony, what are your favorite picks? What do you got?
I guess some of it's relatively chalky. I mean, I've thrown a bunch of random haymakers, but as far as this game, the one that's going to start, what time is it?
In about 2 hours.
No kidding. Great. Perfect time for Anthony to take a nice little nap. But once Anthony wakes up from that nap, he'll be looking at hopeful with Kansas City and Jacksonville. Let's see. What do I got? I don't know why. I know he hasn't been playing that much. He's been hurt. I love Kadarius Toney. I really do. I like Kadarius Toney, and I love Christian Kirk. I don't. Travis Kelce has absolutely killed me recently. For some reason, he doesn't look the same.
Tony's
He's
been
still
good to me too.
Something odd with him. I don't get it. So I'm gonna sprinkle in Kadarius Toney and Christian Kirk, and this is just for touchdown scores, by the way. And I'm gonna throw that in with Jalen Hurts and AJ Brown. I'm debating on if I want to throw in Devontae Smith with some yards. He's actually my contrarian play. I'm actually going to be playing a DraftKings lineup, and I know everyone's going to be on, Kelce and A.J. Brown and whatever. But Devontae Smith is not going to be really that focused on. So I'm not sure if he's going to score the big one, but he might catch about – see, what'd you get? What did you get him at? What, 110?
110 yards is plus 540 or something like that.
I'm gonna be very simple, at least with Hurts, AJ Brown, Kirk, and like I said, I like Kadarius Toney. That's for tonight. As far as for my touchdown scores tomorrow, I asked with that Buffalo game. I already said it enough. T. Higgins, he's getting that touchdown. Get ready for number 85. Gabe Davis caught that touchdown last weekend, even though Diggs pretty much did all the work. I'm going to go with Diggs. I know he's probably not the best odds. I know you have your Dawson Knox play. I don't see much out of the running game. I could see Mixon getting in there, but it's going to be a lot of passing. And then as far as Dallas and San Francisco, look, if Dallas is going to win this game, it's going to be at the CD Lamb. If you want to throw some trinket out there, be my guess with Michael Gallup. But I'm going to throw one together right now. If I got Kirk, I got Tony, I got Hurt, I got A.J. Brown, I might as well throw Diggs in there. I might as well throw T. Higgins in there. And just for my own amusement, CD Lamb. And you know what? Sure, let's throw McCaffrey in there. And pays $8,000.
All right, I like that. I'm going to need that one, Anthony. I'm going to have to ride that one.
One more trinket. I haven't, because I didn't really talk much about this Dallas game. Everyone's going to Kittle. Everyone's going to Debo. And, of course, McCaffrey. Do not sleep on Brandon Ayuk.
Yep.
I'm going to throw him
for sure.
I'm going to throw him into a few little trinkets myself. Brandon Ayuk is your sleeper pick as far as, fantasy props, whatever you guys want to do. But yeah, Brandon Ayuk. So just remember that name when you pick your parlays for the weekend.
Okay. Do you want to? So this is a play. If you're going to be on the sides of the books, I'm talking about if you were to do the opposite teasers and stuff like that, like move point spreads 10 points. This is every game the best bookie case scenario. Okay, right here. So you're going to do. This is what the bookies are going to need. They're going to need the Jaguars minus Jaguars to win. All right. So we're going to do a tick with the Jaguars minus 5.5. That's going to be the big teaser. All right. We'll take the Giants minus 8.5. All right. That's going to beat a big teaser. That's plus 900. The Jaguars minus 5.5 is plus 600. Well, I think the money's on the Bengals. All right. So the Bills and the blowout, DeMar style, minus 19. Because let's just say the offensive line can't hold up. Burrow's under siege. He just can't throw the ball. Right. So this is how this would happen. Bills minus 19.5 is plus 400. And then I think everyone's on San Francisco, to be honest. They're going to have to be. They're the home team. They're the beast team. The only people who are betting the Cowboys are the Cowboy fans. That's why the action might be halfway. But Fox, late, you need the 49ers to win to catch up because if you had a bad weekend, and here you go, Dallas spoils the fucking party again, right?
Right.
Okay. So Dallas just to win by 2. Purdy has a bad day, okay? Dallas minus 12.5 plus 630. All right, so the plays are Jaguars minus 5.5, Giants minus 8.5, Bills minus 19.5, Dallas minus 12.5. This is if you want to be ultimately on the side of the bookie, which don't you always want to be on the side of the bookie? And everyone's kind of hyping at least a couple of these teams dominantly. Right. Let's be honest here. Okay, $10 each. So this is a $50 bet. All right. If you want to dumb it down, we'll make it a 20. Let's make it reasonable for that. Let's average Joes out there. Let's make this a $20 bet. Okay. Simply a $20 bet. If 3 of these 4 happen, you'll win $1,500. If all 4 happen, you will win $16,000 off your $20. This is to be on the side of the bookies, people. All right? What are your opinions of that, Dave, from that strategy?
That is interesting. That is an interesting take there. Yeah, I mean, why not?
Just for $20 bucks?
Why not?
Yeah, just the $20 bucks, just to say,
yeah,
screw it. Why not? Put me on the side of the book for
Yeah.
insurance on whatever.
Why not?
On everything that I want to do. I think I'm in on that.
You don't have to. Yeah, you don't have to convince me too hard.
Anthony, what do you think?
Come on, opposed to it.
All right, so we'll take a shot of that. We'll post that on the Twitter.
Yeah.
My phone's been rebooting this whole time. We'll post this on the Twitter as well. We'll call this the on the side of the bookie play against the public play,
right,
or something. All right, so I think that's how that's going to break down. That's how they beat teasers or whatever. All right, I don't know. That's just going to be a system play. We'll call that.
Right.
All right, that's not going to be my personal preference of what I think is going to happen. Although, why not? Some of these teams wreck the shop. That's what happens in the NFL, right? I mean, it looks like it's going to be a chalk weekend. We shall see. All right, boys, any last takes? Dave's ready to get a beer. Anthony, you're ready to get a nap, right?
I cannot wait to take a nap on this couch just to wake up for that Kansas City game.
All right, and that is it. This is the round robin. So we have Championship Sunday. Next Sunday, that's when we'll come on. We'll do morning broadcast. We'll do a 9 a.m. broadcast there. We'll get everyone while you're sitting around breakfast watching your soccer. You can tune us in for Championship Sunday and then be off with your day. And then Super Bowl Sunday, we'll do the same exact thing.
Nice.
All right. So that is the plan for that. What the puck is going on Monday night. Friday soccer paycheck. Well, let's have to do better next week, people, if there just weren't goals out there today. So we'll see you then. Have fun. Good luck on your tickets, everyone.